Chapter 1592. In 1 second remember, there was no pop-up window for free reading. Mount Chi of the northern region. The towering and precipitous mountain towered into the clouds, standing in the long river of time. Mount Chi's unique style and charm were especially amazing. It was like a vast divine mountain standing in the world, the Spirit House Peak, looking down on the northern region, admired by all. The scenery in Mount Chi was picturesque, like a paradise on earth, fascinating and amazing. Looking from afar, there were red-crowned cranes dancing in the sky above Mount Chi. There were magnificent stone paths connecting the mountain pillars, and there were iron chain suspension bridges crossing the sky. In the mountain stream, a waterfall hung high in the sky. Zhongling was extremely beautiful, too beautiful to behold. Mount Chi was the most famous sacred mountain in the northern region. It was located in the inner prefecture of the northern region, and it covered an extremely vast area. This area was also known as the land of the gods closest to heaven. Today, Mount Chi could be said to be unusually lively. Because it was the place where the Sacred Clan Convention was held, the geniuses of the Sacred Clan from the various domains and continents were like stars in the sky, gathering at Mount Chi's Spirit House Peak. That's Mount Chi. After passing through many teleportation arrays, Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, Li Wushang, and the others finally set foot on the northern region. Because of the Sacred Clan Convention, the large-scale teleportation arrays connecting the various provinces were also unconditionally fully opened. There was no need to wait. The people from the various sacred clans could use the teleportation arrays between the provinces to go to the northern region at any time. This greatly reduced the travel time between the domains of several continents. Moreover, the eastern region and the northern region were adjacent to each other, so Chu Hen and the others spent even less time. The Spirit House Peak is the largest sect in charge of Mount Chi, and it also has the strength of an ordinary sacred clan. Li Wushang casually explained. Everyone nodded. Looking from afar, the Spirit House Peak was high up in the sky, surrounded by celestial mist. As they approached the mountain gate of the Spirit Abyssal Peak, the troops from all directions were like rivers flowing into the sea, continuously flowing into Chi Mountain. In the sky above Mount Chi, there were majestic giant beasts pulling carriages. There were also mounts carrying people. There were even people riding on flying swords. Countless young experts with extraordinary auras gathered like immortals. Just the way they made their appearance was especially unique. Aren't there too many people? Are there really so many sacred race members? Yi Yao exclaimed. Li Wushang shook his head and calmly replied, although it's the Sacred Race Conference in reality, as long as you're a sacred physique cultivator, you can also participate in this ceremony. Oh! Everyone's eyes lit up. In that case, Sister Xuanshuang, Brother Qingyang, and I can also participate in the Sacred Clan Convention? Yi Yao continued to ask. Yes. Li Wushang confirmed. Do you want to try? You can be counted as part of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan's camp, Chu Hen said. Yi Yao looked at Long Xuanshuang. The latter hesitated for a moment, then shook her head. There are many experts in the Sacred Clan Convention. We shouldn't cause trouble for you. It was the most important ceremony in the human domain. The elites of the various sacred races gathered. There were even the 10 unparalleled sacred physiques dominating the competition. As for those ordinary limitless sacred physiques and sacred physiques, most of them were only here with the mentality of participating to gain some popularity. The final protagonists of the Sacred Race Convention were still the 10 strongest sacred races and the few powerful races. If it was any other time, the people around Chu Hen would be able to enjoy the atmosphere of the Sacred Race Convention with a playful attitude. However, the convention this time around wasn't friendly towards the Demon Eye Saint clan that Chu Hen belonged to. Under such a tense situation, there was no need for the others to get involved. Large groups of people entered Spirit House Peak like flocks of birds and beasts. Chu Hen and the others directly went through the main gate's Heaven Stairway Avenue and entered the mountain gate. The majestic Spirit House peak opened wide, and after climbing a flight of steps thousands of meters above the ground, the group stepped onto the main peak's front courtyard square. The first thing that came into view was a stone tablet that was dozens of meters tall. At the top of the stone tablet were two arrow signs, east, west. What's the meaning of this? Chu Hen and the others were a little confused when they saw the two signs on the stone tablet. Was the Sacred Race Convention divided into competition zones? At this time, two young men dressed as guides walked over. You can choose any of the two venues for the preliminary round, one of the young men said. They could choose any one of them. Why is that? Long Qingyang asked casually. It's like this. The young man paused for a moment, before explaining to the crowd in a clear and orderly manner, because this Sacred Race Convention is very likely to be the last one, the number of participants will be much greater than in the past. Therefore, the preliminary round will be split into two venues. This way it won't appear too chaotic. Everyone knew that the Samsara Saint clan had won the championship 9 times before this. If they won the 10th championship this time, the Heavenly Emperor token would belong to the Samsara Saint clan, and there wouldn't be a need for the Sacred Race Convention in the future. The geniuses with the sage physiques from the various continents wanted to grab this last chance to participate. Even if it was just to experience the atmosphere, it would be great. Is this how all the clans are arranged? Chu Hen asked. Yes, the Sacred Race can choose any of the eastern or western regions. The opponents for the preliminary round are all random. The other person explained. That Sacred Race participant, can he go to the two regions separately? Yes, you can. You can compete separately. Chu Hen nodded. In that case, he didn't have to wait for the others from the demonic I Saint clan, and Luo Mengchang didn't have to follow the Abyssal Saint clan's team. Which region are we going to? Luo Mengchang looked at Chu Hen. After a short moment of hesitation, a strange light flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. Eastern region. Everyone was stunned at first, but they couldn't help but smile at each other. Making a comeback, that's a good message. Long Zhan laughed. The others also nodded. May I know which sacred race you are from? One of the ushers asked. The demonic I Saint clan. Chu Hen replied calmly. Oh! As soon as they heard these words, the two guides couldn't help but look at each other with a hint of frivolity on their faces that they were trying to cover up. This way, please. One of the ushers raised his hand and gestured for Chu Hen and the others to walk towards a wide road in the east. Chu Hen nodded and walked towards the eastern region with the others. So it's the demonic I Saint clan. Is there no one else in that clan? Only a few of them came. The low and mocking laughter of the two guides behind them was like a mosquito buzzing, entering Chu Hen and the others' ears. It's good enough that they have the courage to come. If it was me, I wouldn't have come to this sacred race conference to save myself from embarrassment. Lower your voice, don't let them hear you. What's there to be afraid of? I'm afraid that the 10 strongest sacred clans won't have the demonic eye anymore in 2 days. Even though the two of them had lowered their voices, with Chu Hen's group's cultivation, their words were still clear and somewhat ear-piercing. Those two bastards! Yi Yao gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to turn around to settle the score, Chu Hen pulled her back. Brother Chu Hen? It's fine. Chu Hen smiled and shook his head. There's no need to bother with them. Yi Yao forcefully suppressed the anger in her stomach. Big brother Chu Hen, this time, no matter what, you must protect the honor of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan and make them all shut up. I will. Chu Hen nodded and did not say anything else. In the next second, when Chu Hen turned around, his deep eyes quietly turned dark, and a cold intent hidden in the depths of his pupils quietly surged. After walking through the vast square in the front yard of the spiritual precipice peak, Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, and the others stepped onto a wide suspended iron bridge. The iron bridge, which was more than a few thousand meters long, traversed between two giant peaks. The steep peaks and cliffs formed a vast canyon. In the canyon below, the winding and rugged stream extended to the corner of the river. The waterfall flew into the sky, accompanied by red-crowned cranes and birds flying together. The picturesque scenery was very dreamy. Under the bright sunlight, the inside of the canyon sparkled, as if it was decorated with countless stars and diamonds. Walking on the suspended iron bridge, the beautiful scenery of the spiritual precipice peak could be seen. In the distant sky above the mountain stream, there were other iron bridges, and there were even mountains and buildings floating in the void. Those ancient and majestic buildings seemed to be free of gravity as they soared into the sky, such as immortal palaces and shrines. It was breathtaking. It's really spectacular. How did they do that? Everyone on Mount Kunlea looked at the particularly shocking buildings in the sky, and they were all very surprised. No wonder the Sacred Clan Convention was held here. Mount Chi's spiritual precipice peak was indeed worthy of the name, Sacred Mountain. After walking through the long iron bridge, an even wider square appeared in front of everyone. The square was clearly divided, and there was a grand platform built in the middle. At the top and bottom of the platform there were fountains, arch bridges, stone pillars, and many other strange sculptures. Although a large number of people had already gathered in the square, it did not seem crowded for such a spacious place. Instead, it looked a little loose. As soon as Chu Hen and the others stepped into the square, they immediately looked at them with sharp eyes. And it was accompanied by a low voice of discussion. "Which clan is this?" "The Demon Pupil Clan. That's Chu Hen, the one who destroyed the War God Palace. Don't you know?" "He's Chu Hen?" Because of the great turmoil that happened in the Midland a while ago, Chu Hen's name had long been known by people in the Midland. However, people didn't seem to be too frightened by Chu Hen's arrival. Instead, most of them narrowed their eyes and looked at him with contempt. He's a little bold. Doesn't he know that during the Sacred Race Conference, the Antiquity Sacred Race can kill him in the open? Chapter 1593. Haha, he's quite daring. Doesn't he know that during the Sacred Race Conference, the Antiquity Sacred Race can kill him in the open? He's digging his own grave. Chu Hen destroyed the God of War Palace. Everyone knew. It was no longer a secret that the Wilderness Holy Clan was behind the God of War Palace. Although they were also one of the 10 strongest holy clans, the Demon Eye Holy Clan no longer had the power to fight against the Wilderness Holy Clan. Previously, because of the intervention of the Star Holy Clan, the Sky Burning Holy Clan and the Wilderness Holy Clan, Chu Hen was able to escape unscathed. However, once they arrived at the venue of the Sacred Race Convention, the Wilderness Sacred Race would have sufficient reason to target Chu Hen. The people who came with Chu Hen were a little unhappy with the strange gazes of the people around the square. "It seems that the obstacles in front of you are much more than you imagined," Li Wuxiang said calmly. Chu Hen did not think much of it and touched his nose. "I'm used to it. Chu Hen, you guys are here." At this moment, a few familiar figures hurried over. "It's Qingyi and Qingkai." Yi Yao was the first to call out. Chu Hen's eyes also lit up. The people who came were none other than Zhao Qingyi, Zhao Qingkai, Qiao Shaowan, Han Yichuan, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yan and a few other Wuzongs. Not far behind them, Mo Qing Li and Qing Shui were also heading towards them. On Qing Shui's shoulder, there was an exquisite and cute little monkey with golden fur. "Qing Shui is here too," Yi Yao said in surprise. "I'm here to cheer for Brother Chu Hen." Qing Shui blinked her big eyes and said obediently. The little monkey on his shoulder also spoke a few words in the monkey language, Zhizi. Looking at the familiar people, Chu Hen was both surprised and relieved. "How long have you been here?" "We came from Martial Alliance and just arrived this morning," Qiu Xingyi replied and patted Chu Hen's shoulder. "Junior brother Chu Hen, we don't know what to say. Just try your best. No matter what the outcome is, we'll cheer for you," That's right, Junior Marshal Brother Chu-hen, relax. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. There's no need to pay too much attention to the upcoming sacred race meeting. Wang Li spoke up as well. Everyone was well aware of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan's current situation. There was no doubt that Chu-hen was under a lot of pressure, but everyone could only comfort him with words. Feeling the concern in everyone's words, Chu-hen smiled and nodded. Thank you all for coming. You're being too polite. We're all brothers who have risked our lives for you. Even if we don't have a part in the sacred race meeting, we still have to cheer for you. Wu Yen clenched her right fist and hammered her chest. Sect Master Dongfang said that he'll definitely be there on the day of the finals. We believe that you have the ability to fight your way to the finals. The finals? A helpless smile rose from the corner of Chu-hen's mouth, then he nodded. I'll do my best. Oh right, why don't I see Miss Qianyu? At this moment, Zhao Qingkai suddenly blurted out, Isn't she with you? Long Qingyang, Long Xuanshuang, and Yi Yao's expressions immediately became extremely strange. Oh yeah? Where's Sister Qianyu? Is she back to the Divine Eye Sacred Clan? Will she come later? Qingxue also joined in. She even used her shoulder to bump Chu-hen's arm, and said with a sweet and innocent smile, I'm going crazy. Yi Yao slapped her head. This scene seemed very familiar. Long Qingyang hurriedly pointed at the beautiful figure beside Chu-hen and said, This is Miss Luo Mengchang. It's our first time meeting each other. Let me introduce her. What? Luo Mengchang? Upon hearing these words, Zhao Qingkai and Qingxue were immediately dumbfounded. The atmosphere immediately froze. A cold breeze blew past, and the scene became extremely awkward. Zhao Qingsai's mouth fell open as he laughed dryly. So you're Miss Mengchang. Nice to meet you. Luo Mengchang was not angry. She smiled slightly. Nice to meet you all. Hee hee, happy. Zhao Qingkai wanted to cry but no tears came out. The same thing had happened to her twice. The last time in Hidden Sky City, she had mistaken Bai Qianyu for Luo Mengchang and was extremely embarrassed. This time, she had directly mentioned Bai Qianyu in front of Luo Mengchang, and she was about to go crazy. Why didn't you guys tell me? Zhao Qingkai, who had retreated to the side, whispered to Qiao Shaowan helplessly. Qiao Shaowan snorted with a fake smile. I wanted to tell you, but who would have thought that you would be so fast? I'm about to die of depression. I think you're not the only one who's going to die of depression. Zhao Qingkai shrunk his head and glanced at Chu-hen a little embarrassedly. However, Chu-hen's expression did not change, but it was unknown if he was really that calm, or if he was pretending to be calm. Only Mo Qingli looked at Chu-hen with a complicated expression. When he mentioned the three words by Qianyu, Mo Qingli could clearly feel a trace of loneliness in the depths of Chu-hen's eyes. As time passed, more and more people gathered at the Eastern Plaza. The major forces that wanted to participate in the Sacred Race Conference also gradually arrived. There were even many acquaintances that Chu-hen knew. For example, Lin Yinghe of the Five Elements Sacred Clan, Tang Bufan of the Imperial Magnificence Palace, Situ Hanye of the Wind Frost City, and other geniuses on the Central Continent's Feng Yun list had also appeared. Although the Sacred War Enlistment and the Sacred Race Meeting could not be compared at all, it was very likely that this would be the last Sacred Race Meeting. Therefore, those geniuses who possessed sacred physiques and bloodlines also came to join in the fun. Suddenly, a wave of restlessness arose in the crowd. The Light Sacred Races team is here. Wow! A low clamor immediately arose in the plaza. The Light Sacred Race? Chu-hen, Long Qingyang, Kuan Lushan, and the others also followed the crowd's attention to the vast and majestic Iron Chain Bridge. Just like their name. The moment the Light Sacred Races team appeared, they were as dazzling as the sun. Under the cautious gazes of the crowd, the Light Sacred Races team crossed the suspension bridge like a divine rainbow and stepped onto the plaza. They had a dignified bearing and a sharp edge. They were like beams of dazzling light that sprinkled on the eastern plaza. As expected of a tribe that's second only to the 10 strongest sacred races. This aura really makes people not dare to get too close. This year's light sacred race seems to be very strong. I wonder if they have any hope of making it to the top 10 strongest sacred races. It's possible. The light sacred body's bloodline boundary power has reached its peak. It's not much weaker than the 10 strongest sacred bodies. Is that Murong Yao in the lead? He's the #1 person among the light sacred race's younger generation. I heard that his cultivation level is close to that of a quasi-emperor. Most of the crowd's attention was focused on the white-robed man in the lead. When the light sacred race arrived at the eastern plaza like a divine rainbow, the sky on the other side of the plaza suddenly darkened. There were no dark clouds covering the sky, but the light between heaven and earth seemed inexplicably dim. It's them, the dark sacred race. Chapter 1594. It's them, the sacred darkness clan. Just as everyone in the eastern square was marveling at the sharp aura emitted by the light sacred race, an aura that was completely opposite to theirs came from the other end of the square. There were no dark clouds in the sky, but everyone could feel an invisible dark shadow shrouding them. Under many surprised gazes, an extraordinary team slowly walked into the eastern square. The leader was dressed in black and had an arrogant aura between his brows. Lin En, the #1 person in the Sacred Darkness clan. The surrounding crowd exclaimed. Interesting. The Light faction and the Darkness faction have actually appeared in the eastern square. Murong Yao and Lin En are old rivals. Light, darkness. It was as if they were day and night. The appearance of these two powerful sacred clans caused a commotion in the eastern square. That person seems to be Xiaoyao Qing? Yi Yao suddenly said. Chu Han and the others who were standing in the outer area also noticed the extraordinary aura of the Light faction and the Darkness faction. At the same time, there was a familiar figure among the Sacred Darkness clan's team. His opponent was none other than the Spirit Phoenix Valley's head disciple. Because of Huang Fuqing, he fought with Chu Han for Huang Fuqing's affections and ultimately lost to Chu Han, Xiaoyao Qing. It's him. Qiu Xingyi nodded in affirmation. There were rumors that Xiaoyao Qing is from the Sacred Darkness clan. It seems that it's true, Wang Li said in a low voice. On the day of the final battle of the Sacred War in the Chaos Devil Domain, Chu Han had severely injured Xiaoyao Qing and almost destroyed his cultivation. Looking at him from afar, Xiaoyao Qing's aura was cold and his face was pale. However, the power that he exuded was much stronger than before. Xiaoyao Qing's cultivation has recovered? Wu Yan was slightly surprised. Yes, he seems to have made great progress. I wonder what method the Sacred Darkness clan's higher-ups used to help him recover. As they spoke, they subconsciously turned to look at Chu Han. However, Chu Han's face was calm. He did not feel much emotional about Xiaoyao Qing's appearance. The Light Sacred Clan's Murong Yao and the Darkness Sacred Clan's Lin En, the two monstrous geniuses, merely exchanged glances with each other across the river. The corners of their mouths curled into provocative smiles. The people who were in the middle of the two clans could not help but feel as if they were at the boundary of the alternating day and night. He had to admit that the pressure from the two sacred clans was quite obvious. However, before everyone could recover from the pressure exerted by the Light and Darkness Saint clans, two even more powerful auras assaulted them like a powerful magnetic force, instantly causing everyone's heartstrings to tremble. These two auras are... I can't be wrong. It's definitely them. Many pairs of eyes that were filled with shock looked at the floating bridge that connected the two sides of the East Square. The people on both sides exuded a heart-palpitating aura. His extraordinary aura suppressed the troops of the Light Sacred Clan and the Dark Sacred Clan. Even the two monstrous geniuses, Murong Yao and Lin En, could not help but frown. Without a doubt, the 10 strongest Saint race teams had appeared on stage. It's the Star Saint clan. and the sky-scorched Saint Clan. That's scary. These two Saint Clans have come to the East Square. Let's hurry up and change zones. If we encounter these people, we will have to kneel in the first round of the preliminary round. Don't worry, there are still the other 8 strongest Saint Clans. Who knows if the Star Saint Clan and the Sky-Scorched Saint Clan will come to the East Square. If the rest are all squeezed in the West Square, we will definitely not be defeated so easily. That makes sense. To the people who participated in the Sacred Clan Convention, the last thing they wanted to encounter was to encounter opponents from the 10 strongest Saint Clans in advance. Otherwise, there would be no experience to speak of. After all, it was the most important ceremony in the human territory. Experts with divine physiques from various domains and continents were gathered. Everyone wanted to take this opportunity to draw a strong and colorful stroke in the convention. As the 2 teams of the Star Saint Clan and the Sky-Scorched Saint Clan entered the East Square, the people from the other Saint Clans like the 5 Elements Saint Clan and the New Moon Saint Clan were like specks of light at the edge of the bright moon, very dim. The leader of the Star Saint Clan was a handsome young man. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, and his eyebrows were thin and long. In addition to his fair skin, he gave off a gentle and refined feeling. On the side of the Sky-Scorched Saint Clan, the young man who was walking at the front was dressed in red. He had an extraordinary heroic spirit between his eyebrows, and the corners of his lips were slightly raised, giving off a charming arc. Chen Jingfeng, Yan Hanyu, both of them are the hot candidates to win the Sacred Clan Convention this time, Qiu Xingyi explained to Chu Hen in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded slightly, and some cautiousness flashed in his eyes. Although there was still a distance between them, he could already feel the strong power of the bloodline boundary from the 2 of them. Behind Chen Jingfeng, Chu Hen also saw a familiar person. It was Meng Shilin, who was also a member of the Star Saint Clan. And beside Yan Hanyu of the Sky-Scorched Saint Clan, there was also Di Qiong, whom he had seen before. Meng Shilin and Di Qiong had both appeared during the Sacred War and the Battle of the God of War Palace. There was also Lu Mian of the Great Wilderness Holy Clan who had not arrived yet. He did not know if the Great Wilderness Holy Clan's team had gone to the Western District, or if they were still on the way. Even though the 2 monstrous figures, Meng Shilin and Di Qiong, were revered and feared by countless people, they were like little brothers to Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu. A half-step emperor? Chu Hen turned sideways and said to Li Wushang. At least. The latter replied. Stronger than you? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Li Wushang nodded slightly, both of them. Long Qingyang, Long Xuanshuang, Xiao Shaowan and the others beside him could not help but change their expressions. They had personally witnessed Li Wushang's super strength. Back in Meng City, Li Wushang had defeated the Light Saint Clan's vice-clan leader with just one move. How could such a powerful cultivation be inferior to those 2 Sacred Clan juniors? To be precise, they're both quasi-emperors, Li Wushang said again. What about you? Half-step emperor. What's the difference? There's not much difference in terms of cultivation level, but to be honest, quasi-emperor refers to those who have a high chance of becoming an emperor. As for me, I might not be able to become a quasi-emperor, just because I become an emperor, Li Wushang explained. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly. He remembered that Li Wushang had once said that his talent was almost at its limit. Even if he could kill the Light Saint Clan's vice-clan leader with one move, he was only a peak quasi-emperor. The strength of his talent and bloodline determined that he could only go so far. However, Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu were completely different. They still had endless possibilities. He already had such a cultivation level at such a young age. It was only a matter of time before he became an emperor. This was the difference between a quasi-emperor and a quasi-emperor. Chen Jingfeng. TSK, isn't he too handsome? No wonder he's one of the favorites to win. He definitely has the demeanor of a king. Yan Hanyu too. He has the demeanor of a champion. That's strange. Why don't the two clans come together? Aren't the Sky Burning Saint clan and the Star Saint clan quite close? According to the friendly relations between the two clans, they thought that Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu would greet each other in a friendly manner. Surprisingly, the two of them merely glanced at each other and didn't seem to have any intention of gathering together. You don't know? Is there a secret? Although the Sky Burning Saint clan and the Star Saint clan have a good relationship, Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu don't get along very well. As far as I know, they're rivals in love. Rivals in love? That's right. Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu's lover is the first lady of the Holy-Eyed Saint clan, Emperor Bai's daughter, Bai Qianyu. Wow, what an enviable woman! Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu were extremely popular. The private affairs of the two were immediately discussed enthusiastically by others. Many young women in the Eastern Square couldn't help but reveal envious expressions when they heard that the two of them liked the same person. When Chu Hen's side heard the three words, Bai Qianyu, he couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment. Several people's gazes swept over Chu Hen. If that's the case, isn't Chu Hen also their rival in love? Zhao Qingkai muttered softly. Wow! Suddenly, at this moment, the atmosphere in the East Square became even more restless. Who are you talking about? Who's here? The people from the Holy-Eyed Saint clan are here. Come. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1595. The Holy-Eyed Saint clan is here. Speak of who will arrive. In an instant, the already restless East Square was suddenly filled with an intense atmosphere. Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, and the rest were stunned. Their gazes all turned toward the sky-traversing suspension bridge that was coming from the south. The Holy-Eyed Saint clan's team was like the stars in the night sky, attracting everyone's attention. Even Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu's eyes lit up when they saw the beautiful figure at the front of the team. Bai Qianyu, the daughter of the White Emperor of the Holy-Eyed Saint clan. Bai Qianyu was dressed in a white robe with golden stripes. While it did not affect her elegance, it added a hint of elegance to her. She had a peerless appearance and an innate noble temperament. None of the women present could compare to her. Is that the daughter of the White Emperor? She is indeed peerless. In the past, I only heard that the daughter of the Holy-Eyed Great Emperor was stunning. Now that I see it, the rumors are true. Yes. No wonder Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu are unwilling to talk to each other. It is indeed understandable. Soon, the Holy-Eyed Saint clan's team crossed the suspended bridge and entered the East Square. Chen Jingfeng of the Star Divine clan and Yan Hanyu of the Sky Burning Saint clan put down their respective identities and went forward from the left and right respectively. Qingxue, who was on the other side, could not help but shout. Sister Qianyu, although her voice was not loud, the Holy-Eyed Saint clan heard her clearly. Bai Qianyu subconsciously looked over. Long Qingyang, Long Xuanshuang, Yiyao, and Mo Qingli, and the rest were all stunned. When Bai Qianyu's gaze met with Chu Hen's, who was standing in the middle of the group, Chu Hen frowned slightly. His hands involuntarily clenched into fists. Her beautiful peach blossom eyes were still lovely. But compared to before, she was a little less bright and pretty, and a little more worried. It was as if she had gone through a special baptism, with a hint of melancholy and beauty. The look in Bai Qianyu's eyes once again disturbed the peace in Chu Hen's heart. Big Sister Qianyu has lost a lot of weight, Yiyao muttered to herself with a slight heartache. These words were like a sharp thorn that pierced into Chu Hen's heart, and a trace of bitterness faintly surged out from his eyes. At this time, Bai Qianyu's gaze shifted slightly and landed on Luo Mengchang, who was next to Chu Hen. Bai Qianyu looked at Luo Mengchang, whose beauty was not inferior to hers, with a complicated look in her eyes. Then, she retracted her gaze and no longer looked at Chu Hen. She continued to lead the Holy-Eyed Saint Tribe's team towards the central area of the Eastern Plaza. Junior Sister Qianyu, long time no see. Qianyu, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you outside for a long time. At the same time, Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu also walked in front of the holy-eyed sacred tribe. Senior brother Chen, big brother Yan, how have you been? Bai Qianyu nodded slightly and smiled politely. I'm getting more and more optimistic, Chen Jingfeng said with a smile. Heh! Yan Hanyu raised his handsome eyebrows slightly and said with slight disdain, Brother Chen only knows how to pick nice things to say. Can't you see that Qianyu looks a little haggard? Then, Yan Hanyu looked at Bai Qianyu and said, Did you encounter something unhappy? Tell me, I'll settle it for you. Chen Jingfeng, who had been choked, was not angry. He revealed a charming smile and said to Bai Qianyu, Do you want to consider marrying me? I'll protect you for the rest of your life. Wow! As soon as he said this, the entire Eastern Plaza immediately went into an uproar. Countless women were extremely envious and jealous. Yan Hanyu was so angry that his eyes widened. Chen Yu, it's been so many years. Are you still not going to give me an answer? Chen Jingfeng's voice was gentle enough to melt any woman's heart. Bai Qianyu smiled and replied with a smile, Thank you, senior brother Chen, for thinking about me for so many years. After the Holy Clan Conference ends, I'll think about it. You're joking, right? Yan Hanyu hurriedly said. Not necessarily. I'm not young anymore. It's time for me to find someone to marry. After saying this, Bai Qianyu nodded slightly and directly led the people of the Divine I Saint clan through the periphery of the plaza. Chen Jingfeng was instantly overjoyed, and there was an unconcealable smile on his face. Yan Hanyu snorted coldly, Don't be too happy too early. You also told me to think about it last time. In the end you thought about it for 5 or 6 years. That's just you, Chen Jingfeng said disapprovingly. Chen Jingfeng did not think much of it. After I win the championship of the Sacred Clan Conference, I'll let the Star Emperor personally propose to the Divine I Sacred Clan on my behalf. That's not a bad idea. But you're not the only one who has the ability to win. After saying this, the two of them once again followed Bai Qianyu's footstep. In the entire world, there was only one person who could be treated like this by two popular candidates for the Holy Clan Conference, Bai Qianyu. On the other side, Qiao Shaowan, Han Ichuan, Zhao Qingkai, and the others all looked at Chu Hen in confusion. What's going on between you and Sister Qianyu? Qiao Shaowan asked. Even with Luo Mengqiang by her side, she still couldn't help but ask. Long Qingyang frowned slightly, gesturing for her to keep quiet. But the more he did so, the harder it was for everyone to calm down. Just a few months ago, Chu Hen and Bai Qianyu were so close. Why were they acting like strangers now? Could it be because of Luo Mengqiang? But Bai Qianyu already knew of Luo Mengqiang's existence back in the Midland. If that was the only reason, Bai Qianyu wouldn't have been so indifferent. Since Luo Mengqiang was present, the others didn't ask any more questions, especially since Chu Hen's expression didn't seem quite right. She's really beautiful. Even I feel inferior to her. If it were me, I would probably fall in love with her too, Luo Mengqiang said softly as she gently held Chu Hen's arm. There was no displeasure in her tone, but there were ripples in her clear eyes. Chu Hen smiled self-deprecatingly and shook his head, not saying much. Looking at that familiar figure, no matter how restless he was, he had no excuse to take another step forward. Back when they had parted ways at the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, and now that they had met again, it was as if they had crossed thousands of rivers and oceans. That pair of crystal-clear teardrops in her eyes was still unforgettable. Junior Sister Qianyu seems to be a little different from before. Am I wrong? Because of the arrival of the Holy Eye Sacred Clan, the Star Sacred Clan and the Sky Burning Sacred Clan stood together again. The one who spoke was Meng Shilin, who was standing beside Chen Jingfeng. He, Di Qiong, and Lu Mian of the Great Wilderness Sacred Clan were also on good terms with Bai Qianyu. They could be considered normal friends. What's different? Bai Qianyu asked casually. You used to be very cold. You even know how to joke today. Meng Shilin smiled. Cold? Bai Qianyu pursed her red lips slightly, and her beautiful eyes turned away with a tinge of complicated thoughts. She muttered to herself, "It's not that I'm too cold, but I'm too busy being humble to others." Humble? Hearing these two words, Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu could not help but look at each other. In this world, is there anyone who can make you, Miss Bai Qianyu, feel humble? Yan Hanyu asked in a low voice. Bai Qianyu smiled, but did not answer. What does it matter if I'm humble or not? Before the two of them could ask, a rapid airflow suddenly swept across the sky above the East Plaza. The hearts of everyone present were instantly shocked. Under the guidance of a few spirit precipice peak guides, a team with a strong aura walked into the East Plaza. All the geniuses and experts of the various clans turned pale. Even the aura of the three strong teams, the Star Sacred Clan, the Sky Burning Sacred Clan, and the Holy Eye Sacred Clan, was suppressed. "They're here." Yan Hanyu's eyes turned cold and he said in a light tone. Chen Jingfeng also frowned, and a solemn expression that had never been seen before appeared on his handsome face. "It seems that we've come to the right division. We've met here." "Haha, just in time to say hello." Yan Hanyu's voice paused, and he uttered a few words. Reincarnation Sacred Clan. Chapter 1596. The Reincarnation Saint Clan. As soon as Yan Hanyu from the Burning Sky Saint Clan finished his sentence, the entire Eastern Plaza erupted in an unprecedented uproar. The uncontrollable atmosphere was like a surging wave that caused a commotion in all directions. The Reincarnation Saint Clan. They had won the Sacred Clan Convention 9 times. With their outstanding achievements, they firmly occupied the first place in the history of the Sacred Clan Convention. They were also the most popular Sacred Clan to win this time's convention. An extremely powerful aura gradually approached. At that moment, the people on the floating bridge that connected the Eastern Plaza gathered countless cautious gazes. Chu Hen, Luo Mengchang, and Li Wushang also looked over. Although this group of people did not reveal their abilities, they gave off a feeling that they were different from any other sacred clan. It was as though each of them had an innate extraordinary aura. The Five Elements Saint Clan, the New Moon Saint Clan, and the other forces were directly crushed. The Light Saint Clan and the Darkness Saint Clan were instantly reduced to the background. Even the Star, Burning Sky, and God's Eye Saint Clans, who were equally famous as the strongest sacred clans, were also suppressed. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the Reincarnation Saint Clan's team walked into the Eastern Plaza. When the three people in the lead entered the eyes of everyone, an aura that was like a sudden gale swept out in all directions. Aside from Chen Jingfeng, Yan Hanyu, and Bai Qianyu, who were still dazzling, the other geniuses of the various clans were overshadowed. Is this the Reincarnation Saint Clan? Tisk Tsk, three peerless monsters at the Quasi-Emperor stage. As expected of the leader of the 10 strongest sacred clans. In my opinion, the Heavenly Emperor token will definitely be taken by the Reincarnation Saint Clan. The three powerhouses whose cultivation base was at least at the Quasi-Emperor stage were already comparable to the Star, Burning Sky, and God's Eye Saint clans. The three people in the lead were 2 men and a woman. They exuded an innate arrogance from head to toe, especially the man in the middle. Every time he took a step forward, the airflow between heaven and earth would produce a faint rhythm. It was as though there was an invisible ripple that spread continuously, causing people to feel pressured. Humph, it's still the same. Every time, it's so annoying. Yan Hanyu of the Burning Heaven Saint Clan sneered. So strong. Long Qingyang clenched his fists and exclaimed. As expected of the 9 champions of the Samsara Saint Clan. I have to admit that I'm terrified when I see them. Qiu Xingyi shook his head. The group of people was getting closer and closer. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's pupils could not help but tremble, and a chilling intent quietly spread between his brows. It's him, Luo Mengchang, who was beside him, also frowned slightly and subconsciously held onto Chu Hen's wrist. The others around them looked back at them in confusion. What? Who is it? Chu Hen didn't reply. Instead, he stared coldly at the arrogant figure on the left of the Samsara Saint Clan's team. He's from the Samsara Saint Clan? A few months ago, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang had gone to the Immortal Seal region. Not long after they set foot on the southern continent, they had been intercepted by a mysterious person at the border of the Heaven Ravine Ridge. After exchanging a few blows, the other party had left. Although they had only met once, the provocation and humiliation from that person was still fresh in Chu Hen's mind. At that time, Chu Hen had guessed that the other party was a member of the 10 strongest sacred clans, but he hadn't connected it to the Samsara Saint Clan. However, it was also at this moment that the corner of that person's eyes suddenly slanted. His gaze, which was filled with indifference, directly swept towards Chu Hen's side. The moment their gazes met, the other party's face flashed with the same disdain as before. He looked at Chu Hen from afar and shook his head helplessly, as if he was feeling sorry for him. However, Chu Hen knew that the other party was feeling sorry for him, because he had appeared in front of him again. Silent mockery. Extreme disdain. With a frivolous smile, the other party turned his head away, as if he didn't even have the right to look at Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen wasn't as furious as before. He merely stared coldly at the other party, his deep eyes surging with darkness. "You've met him before?" Li Wushang asked in a low voice, slightly puzzled. "Yes." Chu Hen nodded. "I met him once in the southern continent. He seemed to be guarding me there." "Oh!" Li Wushang was a little surprised. Surprised, Li Wushang nodded in understanding. "It looks like your return to the demonic pupil sacred clan isn't a secret anymore. He intercepted you in the southern continent because he wanted to test the capabilities of Chu Rantian and Li Zhixia's son. Perhaps." Chu Hen's gaze softened, but he didn't say anything else. However, no matter what the other party's goal was, Chu Hen could no longer ignore his repeated provocations. At the same time, the Samsara Sacred Clan had already reached the center of the plaza. Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu also subconsciously took 2 steps forward. "Long time no see. Have you two still not won over Miss by Qianyu?" The man in the middle smiled playfully. "You're still as annoying as ever." Chen Jingfeng raised his brows and said in a low voice, "Yu Shanin. Yu Shanin." That was the name of the strongest of the Samsara Sacred Clan's younger generation. He was a direct descendant of the Samsara Emperor. Rumor had it that the strength of Yu Shenying's reincarnation bloodline was almost on par with the reincarnation emperor's. In other words, not only would Yu Shenying step into the emperor realm in the future, he might even become an emperor. When that time came, the Samsara Sacred Clan would have 2 emperors watching over it. Their position as the leader of the 10 strongest sacred clans would be even more unshakable. Future emperors. Without a doubt, Yu Shanin's appearance made everyone's hearts palpitate. At the same time, it was a declaration of the Samsara Sacred Clan's unsurpassable position. Everyone sensed a signal from the bottom of their hearts. This year, the Samsara Sacred Clan was going to win the championship. Haha, there are quite a lot of people who hate me. You're not one of them, Yu Shanin smiled indifferently. You're wrong. Yan Hanyu from the Burning Sky Sacred Clan said with a flirtatious and charming smile. The 3 of you are quite annoying. That's true. The young man who had stopped Chu Hen in the southern continent said. After all, outstanding people are easily hated by others. Forget it. You, Zhong Qishi, don't have the qualifications for me to take you seriously. If I say you're annoying, then I really am. Ha 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 ha. The man called Zhong Qishi did not get angry. Senior brother Yan Hanyu's words make me a little sad. Since even you have said so, then I really look forward to learning from you at the conference. Of course. Yan Hanyu's eyelids twitched. Come find me after you pass the preliminaries. Wow. Listening to their conversation, the surrounding people all felt as if it was a conversation between immortals and mortals that couldn't even get a word in. It had to be said that Yen Hanyu had a poisonous tongue. He didn't use any vulgarities when he mocked people. He could even say that he wouldn't pass the preliminaries. Of course, the crowd didn't care about this. It was absolutely impossible for Zhong Qishi to be stopped in the preliminaries. After all, he was a super monster at the level of a quasi-emperor. Not to mention the preliminaries, he could even get a share of the championship. 2 grown men surround a woman every day, but that woman doesn't even bother to pay attention to them. How interesting, the young woman on Yu Shinin's right said with a faint smile. Chen Jingfeng and Yen Hanyu subconsciously looked back at Bai Qianyu. Then, the former smiled warmly and said, "As the ancients say, a graceful and virtuous woman is a gentleman's pursuit. Doing what I like and embracing the person I like is also our interest. To be honest, I also want to focus on you, Miss Yuji. But I really can't find anything about you that's attractive to me." Yen Hanyu's words weren't as tactful as Chen Jingfeng's, and he mercilessly retorted. "You!" The young woman called Yuji's face darkened, and she glared at him angrily. "See, you're angry after just a few words. As expected, Qianyu is more gentle." Yen Hanyu continued to retort. After hearing Yen Hanyu's words, the crowd couldn't help but compare Lu Yuji of the Samsara Saint tribe and Bai Qianyu of the Holy-Eyed Saint tribe. In terms of status, Lu Yuji and Bai Qianyu were both from the same clan, but Bai Qianyu was the White Emperor's daughter, so her status was more symbolic. In terms of cultivation, Lu Yuji was at the quasi-emperor realm, but Bai Qianyu hadn't revealed her true cultivation level to the outside world. Logically speaking, she hadn't reached the quasi-emperor realm yet, but she definitely wasn't far from it. In terms of temperament and appearance, although Lu Yuji was also a first-rate beauty, she was still slightly inferior to Bai Qianyu. In this comparison, even if it wasn't a complete suppression, Bai Qianyu was even more stunning. Lu Yuji gritted her teeth in hatred when she received the strange gazes from the crowd and Yen Hanyu's naughty smile. She stared coldly at Bai Qianyu, and a trace of jealousy rose in her heart. "Look over there, it seems to be the Demon Eye Saint Tribe's team." At this moment, a voice from the crowd broke the strange atmosphere. Everyone looked in the direction of the floating bridge. Recently, the 3 words Demon Eye Saint Tribe had become inexplicably sensitive. However, just as the voice faded, another voice sounded from the other side. "Wait, the Thunder Saint Tribe is here too." Chapter 1597. The Lightning Saint Clan is here too. Just as everyone turned to look at the Demon Eye Saint Clan, another voice rang out from the crowd. Whoosh! The moment his voice fell, the entire eastern square suddenly became inexplicably restless. What's going on? The 2 sacred clans are here together. Is this fate? In an instant, the atmosphere was even more chaotic and noisy than when the Samsara Saint clan had appeared. Recently, both the Demonic Eye Sacred Clan and the Lightning Sacred Clan had been particularly sensitive. When the 2 sacred clans were placed together, it was even more sensitive. One was the most powerful sacred clan that had fallen. The other was a powerful clan that had risen and had a great emperor. At this moment, the crowd looked at the 2 teams walking towards the east square from the left and right. It was as if the heavens had arranged for this to happen. Like the replacement of the old and the new. The change of the sun and the moon. The fall of the old emperor and the succession of the new emperor. Li Wushang's eyes were filled with sadness as he watched this scene. Next to him, Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang, Kuan Lu Shan, and the others were silent. The Demon Eye Saint Clan. They were originally comparable to the Samsara Saint Clan, God's Eye, Star Cosmos, and Burning Sky Saint clans, but now they were being suppressed by the Thunder Saint Clan. In comparison, the Lightning Saint Clan was more like one of the 10 strongest sacred clans. Could it be the mandate of heaven? The Demon Eye Saint Clan would eventually be replaced by the Lightning Saint Clan? Everyone couldn't help but think of this. What a pity! The Demon Eye Saint clan was so glorious back then, but now it's such a pity. Someone in the crowd sighed. The Demon Eye Saint clan's number of participants in the Sacred Clan Conference is less than half of the Darkness Saint clan. How are they going to fight the Lightning Saint clan in this state? That's right. The Demon Eye Saint clan is really doomed this time. Whether it was the Sacred Clan Conference or the arrival of the Lightning Saint clan, it was extremely unfriendly to the Demon Eye Saint clan. The Demon Eye Saint clan's lineup could only be described as dismal. That person is Li Kuan, right? Yes, it's said that he's a blood relative of the Demon Eye clan. He's probably the strongest among the younger generation of the Demon Eye clan. The people in the square didn't seem to consider Chu Hen. Of course, it wasn't because his surname was Chu. It was just that everyone's understanding of Chu Hen was only at the level where he defeated the Palace of War Gods. At best, Chu Hen was only at the level of Meng Shilin of the Divine Star Clan. However, this standard was still far from being able to be taken seriously in the Sacred Race Convention. Led by Li Kuan, the Demon Pupil Saint race entered the center of the plaza. Behind him were Xia Guang, Yi Kong, Qing Wen and some other clansmen whom Chu Hen was acquainted with. Everyone from the Demon Eye Saint clan had a complicated look on their faces as they faced the strange gazes around them. At the same time, the leader of the Thunder Sacred clan wore a long black robe. His eyebrows were sharp like swords, and his eyes were filled with a faint lightning-like sharpness. He didn't conceal his sharpness at all. He was actually on par with Chen Jingfeng, Yan Hanyu, Zhong Qishi and the other super monsters. Thunder Kuan. A deep voice sounded from the crowd. Thunder Kuan. The most talented person in the Thunder Sacred Clan. Regardless of talent or the strength of his bloodline, he far surpassed his peers in the clan. All these years, the Thunder Sacred Clan had been hiding the Thunder Kuan. Very few people in the outside world knew of his existence. It was only after the Thunder Emperor became an emperor that some information about the Thunder Sacred Clan and the Thunder Kuan was gradually dug out. He's a strong opponent. Chen Jingfeng of the Divine Star Clan narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice. Yan Hanyu of the Burning Sky Saint Clan nodded cautiously. This aura is indeed quite sharp. If we meet him in the convention, we can't let our guard down. Unknowingly, the Thunder Sacred Clan has grown to such an extent, someone sighed. This Thunder Kuan does have the king's chi. I guess his cultivation is already no weaker than the super monsters of the strongest Sacred Clan. If that's the case, they'll definitely replace the Demon Eye Saint Clan. The teams of the Demon Eye Saint Clan and the Thunder Saint Clan kept getting closer, and the invisible pressure caused the space around them to vibrate. When the two teams were about 5 meters apart, they subconsciously stopped in their track. Lei Kuan raised his eyebrows and looked at Li Kuan and the others in front of him mockingly. Isn't it better to stay in the Purple Imperial City? Why come here and embarrass yourself? He didn't hide his frivolous tone at all. Provocation. Provocation. Everyone didn't expect Lei Kuan to be so direct. Not only did everyone not expect it, even the people of the Demon Eye Saint Clan were caught off guard. What do you mean by that? Li Kuan retorted coldly. Its literal meaning. If you don't understand, then forget it. I don't like to repeat myself. Lei Kuan smiled faintly. Don't celebrate too early. Even if the Demon Eye Saint Clan isn't as strong as before, it's not the Thunder Sacred Clan's place to tell us what to do. Li Kuan snorted. Lei Kuan shrugged his shoulders with an indifferent expression. The 10 strongest sacred clans. I like this title very much. Whoosh. He didn't hide his thoughts at all. He directly pointed out their ambitions. Lei Kuan was like a dazzling rainbow at this moment, his powerful sharpness causing one's heart to palpitate. To the Demon Eye Saint Clan, this was no longer just a simple provocation. It was a form of humiliation. All that was left was the last shred of dignity of the Sacred Clan Conference. Looking at Li Kuan and Xia Guang behind him, Yi Kong and the others were exasperated but helpless. Those on Li Wushang's side were also deeply helpless. This time, the Demon Eye Saint clan was really in a tough spot. Chu Hen's gaze turned deep as he looked at the people of the Thunder Sacred clan, the coldness in his eyes gradually sharpening. As time passed, fewer and fewer people appeared in the eastern region. However, the atmosphere of the entire eastern region was a little strange. It seems like the other 5 strongest sacred clans have gone to the western region. In that case, there's no need to worry about whether to change regions. To the ordinary participants, meeting the teams of the 10 strongest sacred clans in the preliminary round was the last thing they wanted. Now that the eastern and western regions had been divided into 10 sacred clan teams, there was no need to specially go to another region. The 9 Nether Saint clan seems to have gone to the western region, Luo Mengshang said gently. Chu Hen nodded. Are you going to the western region? No need. It's just the preliminary round anyway. Luo Mengshang shook her head. The division of regions could be done according to one's own preferences, and there was no need to agree with the teams. 1. Suddenly, as everyone was waiting, a nebula suddenly spun in the sky above the eastern plaza. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat. Accompanied by a powerful spatial rhythm, a vast and surging cyclone spread out from the platform at the center of the eastern plaza. Rapid air currents swept out in all directions. On the surface of the Tao platform, streams of light flowed in all directions, and gorgeous runes that resembled spirit vines appeared. Like blooming petals, thousands of light patterns intertwined and shot into the skies. Whoosh! The heavens trembled as the 9 heavens lost their color. In that instant, the intertwining light patterns directly formed a heaven-supporting pillar of light that was over 100 feet in diameter. Spirit patterns flickered within the pillar of light as numerous passageways in the shape of doors could vaguely be seen. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts as they looked at the many passageways hidden within the enormous light pillar. Traces of heat surged within everyone's eyes. The Sacred Race Conference had officially begun. Chapter 1598. In 1 second, there was no pop-up window for free reading. Heaven and earth trembled as the rapid airflow filled the sky and earth. Countless dazzling light patterns intertwined and formed an extremely huge pillar. Inside the giant pillar of light, one could vaguely see a series of strange passageways that looked like doors. Upon seeing this, the hearts of the geniuses from the various clans in the eastern square shuddered. Everyone could not help but feel restless. Nay, subsequently, the loud and clear sound of horses whistling resounded in the sky. A long rainbow path traversed the sky and hung high above the eastern square. On the rainbow bridge-like path, 7 gigantic, pure white horse-shaped demon beasts with a single horn on their foreheads rode on the rainbow light. Unicorns. The people in the square were shocked. That's a legendary ancient divine beast. Is the spirit Abyssal Peak's appearance so grand? They're actually being driven by divine beasts. That shouldn't be a divine beast unicorn. They don't have wings. A real unicorn has a pair of white wings. This should be a descendant of a unicorn, or one with a lower bloodline level. Very soon, someone figured out what was going on. However, even if it was a descendant of a unicorn, it was definitely a rare existence. 7 pure white unicorns pulled a luxurious carriage into the sky above the eastern square. Subsequently, it stopped steadily on the left side of the huge pillar. There were 5 to 6 people standing on the luxurious carriage. The person in the lead was an old man in a long robe. His hair and beard were half white. His eyes were like lightning, and he looked rather dignified. Everyone, welcome to the Spirit Abyssal Peak. I'm Luo Shan, the Vice Peak Master of the Spirit Abyssal Peak. Due to the large number of people here, I have no choice but to speak from a higher position. I hope everyone can forgive me. The old man who called himself Luo Shan cupped his fists slightly. He did not sound arrogant at all. Even though the spiritual Abyssal Peak was the most powerful sect in Mount Shi of the northern region, everyone present was a member of the sacred clan. Especially in front of Samsara, Xing Chen, God's Eye, Fun Tian and the other powerful sacred clans, the spiritual abyssal peak did not dare to be careless. Peak Master Luo Shan, you're too polite. It's all right. We understand. The people below responded one after another. Thank you for your magnanimity. Luo Shan nodded slightly. At the same time, he glanced at Yu Shenying, Chen Jingfeng, Yan Hanyu, and the other super geniuses. When he saw the teams from the Thunder Sacred Clan and the Demonic Eye Sacred Clan, a hint of surprise flashed through his eyes. There was a thought-provoking expression on his face. Cough, cough, faking a cough, Luo Shan raised his finger and pointed at the dazzling pillar that supported the sky. Next, I will briefly explain the rules of the preliminary round. This is the mysterious Heaven Myriad Change formation, and it is connected to a total of over 100 small worlds. These over 100 small worlds are the venue of the Sacred Race Convention's preliminary round. The venue for the preliminary round? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Many pairs of scorching eyes stared at the many passageways and doors inside the giant pillar of light. Every gate was faintly discernible in the pillar of light, floating in the air like a mirror floating in a pool of water, real and illusory at the same time. The way to advance in the preliminary round is to fight for the 10-clan token, Luo Shan continued. As his voice fell, he turned slightly to look at a middle-aged man behind him. The latter nodded knowingly. Then, the middle-aged man put his palms together, and a powerful wave of energy spread out from his body. He slowly pulled his palms apart, and a golden spherical energy body rapidly expanded between his palms. It was like a restless golden water membrane. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed, and he softly shouted, "Break!" Bang! With a slightly muffled explosion, the water film directly exploded from the middle. In an instant, countless light spots and water droplets scattered towards the sky above the East District Square like the debris of the stars that spread out in the sky. This is? Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Everyone's eyes reflected the thousands of water droplets of light droplets. The blooming light droplets that filled the sky changed into strange halos at a speed visible to the naked eye, like a beautiful bubble halo. However, in the next second all of the halos stopped and floated in the air. They were like stars and diamonds that had stopped. All of them were fixed in the air. When the crowd looked carefully, they discovered that each of the halos was wrapped with an order token that was half the size of a palm. The color of the order tokens was different. There were red, blue, yellow, and green, and there were strange patterns engraved on them. Some of the patterns were of a ferocious dragon shadow. Some of the patterns were of a pair of devilish eyes. This is the 10-clan order. Luo Shan pointed at the command token that was hovering in midair and was enveloped by a halo as he said, "Every participant will bring a 10-clan order into the arena, and the standard to advance to the next round is to collect 10 10-clan orders before tomorrow morning." Whoosh! The moment these words left his mouth, the entire eastern square was in an uproar. Only by collecting 10 order tokens can one advance? Doesn't this mean that for every person who advances, at least 9 people will be eliminated? My God, isn't this competition rule a little too cruel? There are so many people, but how many people can pass the preliminary round? 1 person advanced. At least 9 people were eliminated. Without a doubt, this competition rule was absolutely cruel. Panic appeared on the faces of countless people. Murong Yao from the Light Sacred Clan, Linan from the Dark Sacred Clan, and the others instinctively glanced at the Samsara and Star Sacred Clan. If they were to meet them in the preliminary round, it would definitely be a very difficult situation. In comparison, Yan Hanyu, Chen Jingfeng, Lei Kuan, and the others smiled calmly. That's a little harsh. More than 90% of the people are eliminated in the preliminary round. Long Qingyang shook his head and sighed with a serious expression. That's normal. Qiu Xingyi took over and glanced at Chu Hen and Luo Mengsheng. He said, The main characters of the Sacred Clan Conference have never been the ordinary clans with sacred physiques and bloodlines. Even in the 5 Elements Sacred Clan that I'm from, there are less than 5 people who can pass the preliminary round. There have been more than 20 Sacred Clan Conferences, and not 5 of you have advanced to the preliminary round? Yi Yao exclaimed in disbelief. That's right. Qiu Xingyi nodded his head in affirmation. The Sacred Race Convention is truly very cruel. Furthermore, the rules and regulations of the later stages of the competition will be even more difficult. In the end, the main characters will only be the 10 strongest sacred races and those few aristocratic sacred races. Qiu Xingyi said. Because he knew the difficulty of the Sacred Clan Conference was comparable to hell, even he, the chief disciple of the martial sect, did not dare to recklessly attempt the conference. Even if it was likely to be the last one. Participants with the 10 clan token will be randomly assigned to the venue of the preliminary round. Once you enter the venue, it means that the conference has already begun. There are no rules to speak of, and the only thing you have to do is to snatch the 10 clan token from your opponents, Luo Shan explained clearly. Furthermore, because there are so many participants this year, we've set a new rule, which is, the sacred clans that have won the previous Sacred Clan Conferences will have a spot to advance to the next round directly. The sacred clans that had won the previous Sacred Clan Conference. A spot to advance to the next round directly. Everyone turned to look at the teams from the Samsara, Star, God's Eye, Funtian, and the Demon Eye Saint Clan. In history, the 10 strongest sacred clans had won the championship of the conference before. In other words, there would be 10 people in the first round who could advance to the next round without participating. There's such a rule? Chen Jingfeng from the Star Saint Clan raised an eyebrow and looked at Yan Hanyu and Bai Qianyu with a smile. Looks like we can go to the venue of the second round first. To be honest, it's a little regretful. I actually wanted to meet someone in the preliminary round. Yan Hanyu smirked as he looked at the 3 people from the Samsara Saint Clan with a frivolous gaze. Haha, I'm afraid you don't have the ability to make me fail the preliminary round. Zhong Qishi sneered arrogantly and disdainfully. I'm not talking about you, don't take it personally. Yan Hanyu said sarcastically. Yu Shinin smiled faintly. It's all right. Even if we don't meet in the preliminary round, we'll meet in the later rounds. I'll wait for you. Just don't disappoint me. Yan Hanyu raised an eyebrow. Both parties were calm. It doesn't seem like we can do much without the 10 strongest people. That's enough. It's already good enough that we can get through the preliminary round. You're right, but I don't agree with what you said about the 10 strongest people. Lei Kuan from the Thunder Saint Clan raised an eyebrow and looked at Li Kuan from the corner of his eye. Wait for me in the second round. I'll take away your last shred of dignity. No, the last shred of dignity of the entire Demon Eye Saint Clan. Chapter 1599. Wait for me in the second round. I will strip off your last shred of dignity. No, the last shred of dignity of the entire Demon Eye Saint Clan. A playful smile appeared on Lei Kuan's face. He looked at Li Kuan and the others without hiding anything. Feeling the provocation from the other party, Li Kuan's eyes turned cold and he coldly replied. Come. Our Demon Eye Sacred Clan may be in dire straits, but not just anyone can step on us. Is that so? Thunder Kuan sneered. Then, lightning flashed in his eyes. I'm sorry, but your Demon Eye Saint Clan is mine. He was definitely going to eat it. The formless sharp chi was like a sharp knife cutting through flesh, causing people's hearts to tremble. Li Kuan's expression was gloomy like frost. Behind him, Xia Guang, Yi Kong, Qing Wen and the others of the Demon Eye Saint Clan all had cold expressions on their faces as flames of hatred surged within their eyes. Chu Hen, who was near the periphery of the Eastern District, saw this scene, but his emotions did not seem to fluctuate too much. In his deep eyes, there was only a trace of cold light quietly flashing. Those are the rules. The time for the preliminary competition ends tomorrow morning. Participants, please bring the 10-clan order with you into the arena. As for the others, we've already prepared a resting area. You can go there to wait for the results of the preliminary competition. Luo Shan, the Vice Peak Lord of the Spiritual Empress Peak, said in a clear voice. Then, his voice paused, and his tone became more solemn. Finally, there's a need to mention that in the Sacred Race Conference, life and death will be left up to the heavens. I hope that everyone can treat this conference seriously. Life and death in the hands of the heavens. Hearing this, the hearts of everyone present could not help but tremble slightly. The flames in their eyes were extinguished. Those who held the mentality of participation couldn't help but somewhat understand that the nature of the Sacred Race Convention was actually cruel. The slightest bit of carelessness would cause him to become a stepping stone for those powerful sacred clans. I hereby announce that the preliminaries of the Sacred Race Convention will begin immediately. Luo Shan raised his right hand high. His deep and sonorous voice, along with the impassioned war song of the bugle, rang out. The hearts of all the people in the eastern square surged, and their blood surged. Luo Shan waved his hand. Participants, enter the arena. Enter. As soon as he finished speaking, a monstrous aura erupted from the square. One by one, the imposing figures leaped into the air. Everyone first took a 10-clan order from the void, and then their bodies flashed toward the giant pillar of light at the center of the square. Xiao! Whoosh! There was a majestic scene, such as a school of fish leaping through the dragon's gate. The vast crowd of people quickly rushed into the pillar of light. Then, with a flash of light, they turned into wisps of light and disappeared into the various passages inside. A large number of people were excited. The number of people in the eastern square decreased at a visible rate. One by one, the contestants from the sacred clans of 5 elements, the sacred clans of light, and the sacred clans of darkness entered the dark heaven myriad transformation formation. Lei Kun glanced at the people from the Demon Eye sacred clan with a playful smile. Go! A string of rapid electric current whistled through the air, and a bunch of silver electric arcs flashed in the air. The Thunder Koan immediately disappeared from its original place. The other contestants from the Thunder Sacred Clan followed closely behind. Dazzling lightning streaked across the sky, its undisguised sharpness causing the people in the sky to dodge. Interesting. Zhong Qishi of the Reincarnation Sacred Clan smiled faintly. That Lei Kun has quite the character. He doesn't even see the Demon Eye Sacred Clan as humans. When they came here, they should have already been prepared to humiliate themselves. Lu Yuji also said with disdain. Not far away, Chen Jingfeng, Yan Hanyu, and the others didn't refute them. Zhong Qishi and Lu Yuji's words were harsh, but they were the truth. At this moment, Bai Qianyu actually replied in a flat tone. Anything can happen before the end of the convention. Her words stunned everyone. Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu looked at each other in astonishment. Are you speaking up for the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, junior sister Qianyu? Lu Yuji asked uncertainly. Bai Qianyu raised her pretty eyes and opened her red lips. So what if I am? Bai Qianyu's beautiful eyes rose slightly as her red lips parted. So what if I am? Lu Yuji's disdain deepened. What's going on? Lu Yuji's disdain deepened. What's going on? The young miss of the Holy Eye Sacred Clan is actually speaking up for the Demon Eye Sacred Clan. Do you feel guilty that the Demon Eye Sacred Clan has fallen to such a state? Our young miss Bai Qianyu is really kind-hearted. Ha 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 ha. Her words were full of sarcasm. After all, everyone knew that the Holy Eye Sacred Clan and the Demon Eye Sacred Clan had been enemies since ancient times. It could be said that any clan present could stand up for the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, but the Holy Eye Sacred Clan couldn't. Bai Qianyu wasn't angry at Lu Yuji's mockery, nor did she intend to argue with her. What's wrong? Chen Jingfeng asked in a low voice. What? Bai Qianyu asked. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan? Haven't you always been enemies? Is that so? Bai Qianyu smiled, a little self-deprecating and a little bitter. She looked back at Chen Jingfeng and asked, "What does the feud between the Demon Eye Sacred Clan and the Holy Eye Sacred Clan have to do with me? Why is it wrong for me to speak up for them?" Chen Jingfeng was stunned. He was shocked, but he didn't know how to answer. The number of halos floating in the sky was also decreasing. The East Plaza, which was originally filled with tens of thousands of people, was instantly reduced by more than half. "It's about time. Let's go in too," Luo Mengchang said to Chu Hen. Chu Hen nodded, then said to the other people beside him, "You guys wait for us outside. Be careful. All the best, junior brother Chu Hen." After giving a few simple instructions, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang immediately rose into the air. As they moved, Chu Hen clenched his fingers in the air. Whoosh! Accompanied by a sudden suction force, the two Ten-Clan tokens in the air in front of them fell into Chu Hen's palm. Then, Chu Hen handed one of the Ten-Clan tokens to Luo Mengchang and said softly, "If we aren't assigned to the same venue, you must be careful." "Don't worry. I'm a quasi-emperor." Luo Mengchang blinked. Chu Hen smiled. "No matter what, it's fine as long as you don't get hurt." "Got it." With that, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang entered the giant light pillar one after the other. In the next instant, they turned into two streaks of light and merged into it. "Let's go. Wait for me in the second round." Zhong Qishi of the Samsara Saint Clan had a strange glint in his eyes. He smiled arrogantly at Yen Hanyu of the Sky Burning Saint Clan and leaped into the formation with a 10-tried medallion. Lu Yuji also glanced at Bai Qianyu playfully before following Zhong Qishi into the Black Sky Myriad Change formation. Yen Hanyu found it funny. "This guy keeps telling me to wait for him. It's as if he wants me to elope with him." "Haha, maybe he really has a crush on you," Chen Jing said with a playful smile. Yen Hanyu sniffled. "I don't think he's taken a fancy to me but someone else, don't you think so? Your Excellency Yu Shinin." With that, Yen Hanyu glanced at Yu Shinin of the Reincarnation Saint Clan with interest. The latter smiled. "It seems like you know quite a bit." "Ha ha ha ha." Yen Hanyu laughed. "To be honest, I'm not interested in anyone else. There are only two people that interest me. One of them is definitely Miss Bai Qianyu." Yu Shinin smiled. "You're right. As for the other one..." Yen Hanyu paused. His eyes flashed with a fiery desire to fight. "I really hope to meet him in the finals." An invisible wave of air spread out. Yu Shinin and Yen Hanyu were like the two brightest stars in the galaxy. This was a challenge. And a provocation. Yu Shinin's lips curled into a playful smile. He stared at Yen Hanyu with black vortexes spinning in his eyes. "I'm honored to be remembered by you. However, you, Yen Hanyu, don't even have the qualifications to catch my eye." Whoosh! A strange spatial rhythm caused the surrounding space to distort and shake. Yen Hanyu also smiled. His smile was a bit fierce. The expressions of Chen Jingfeng, Bai Qianyu, and the others changed. They could clearly feel the extremely terrifying aura of Yu Shinin's invisibility. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Yu Shinin smiled calmly. "See you in the next round, everyone." With that, Yu Shinin and the accompanying Reincarnation Saint Clan members turned and left the Eastern Plaza. Yen Hanyu, Chen Jingfeng, and Bai Qianyu's group were left with a cold expression. Not far away. As for Li Wushang, Long Zhan, Gong Yangyu, and the others, they were quietly watching this scene. The Sacred Clan Conference hadn't even started, but the competition between the various clans had already begun. Lei Kuan, Zhong Qishi, Lu Yuji, Chen Jingfeng, Yen Hanyu, Bai Qianyu. There was also Yu Shinin. These peerless monstrous geniuses that were like stars, sun, and moon. They were like mountain-like obstacles that blocked Chu Hen's path. And this was just the Eastern Plaza. Then, the Western Plaza joined in. This was the true battle of the 10 clans. How far could Chu Hen go? Sigh. Li Wushang let out a deep sigh. He looked at the huge pillar of light that connected to the sky and muttered to himself. Those eyes of yours, how far can they see? Chapter 1600. The forest was so deep that one could not see the end of it. This was a particularly vast and lush forest. In the depths of the forest and in the central area, there were many ancient ruins. From afar, there were ancient castles, towers, and a half-collapsed city. In the depths of the forest, there was a faint, rustling sound. It was as if a hunter lurking in the dark had quietly pulled a bowstring and aimed a cold arrow with a green poisonous light at any passer-by. It seems that Mengchang is not here. At this moment, Chu Hen was standing on the branch of a lush giant tree, about 40 to 50 meters above the ground. After entering the mysterious sky myriad change formation, he was directly transported here, and there was no aura of Luo Mengchang in this forest. In other words, the two of them were not assigned to the same venue for the preliminary round. However, Chu Hen did not need to worry too much about Luo Mengchang's safety. She already had the cultivation of a quasi-emperor, and in addition to the few supermonsters who had directly obtained the qualification to enter the next round, there were only a few people left who had the ability to threaten Luo Mengchang. Coo coo coo. A burst of bird cries suddenly sounded in the forest behind Chu Hen, and more than a dozen birds suddenly scattered in all directions. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and the corner of his eyes turned cold. Swoosh! Along with the extremely rapid and sharp sound of the wind breaking, a flying axe that was spinning at an extremely fast speed dragged a piercingly cold cyclone as it flew toward him. Bang! With a loud explosion, branches and leaves were sent flying, and wood chips were scattered everywhere. The huge tree that Chu Hen was on was instantly split into two. It was forcefully split into two halves. Swoosh! Immediately afterward, a figure with a cold aura sprang out of the forest and directly ran toward the giant tree that had been split in two. Then, the other person could not help but be stunned. In front of him was only the destroyed tree, and the figure who was standing on it just now had disappeared. "Are you looking for me?" At this moment, Chu Hen's somewhat frivolous laughter came from the side. The person's expression suddenly changed. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he immediately sucked back the flying axe that he had just thrown out into his palm. Then, without saying a word, he flipped his hand, and a swift and fierce axe shadow chopped towards Chu Hen. The other party's reaction speed was extremely fast. Moreover, the explosive power was also quite shocking. Waves of wind and thunder actually appeared in the air. Boom! In the next moment, a heavy force spread out in the forest. The violent impact was like a blossoming thunderbolt. Following that, a sharp flying axe was sent flying, along with a face full of fear. That person was like a sandbag that lost his balance. Bang bang bang! He broke 5 or 6 trees in a row before he was able to stop. He was battered and exhausted, and a large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. The man struggled on the ground with a look of horror on his face. He looked at the young figure slowly approaching in front of him, and found it even more difficult to believe. He never thought that the first person he would meet after entering the arena would be such a terrifying and ruthless character. Who are you?" Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and a smile appeared on his lips. "The loser doesn't have the right to know the other party's identity. Hand it over." Chu Hen raised his hand slightly and said calmly. That person's face turned pale, and a trace of hesitation flashed in his eyes. But soon, this trace of hesitation disappeared without a trace. Under the circumstances of a sneak attack, he still couldn't take down Chu Hen. If he had any other thoughts, he would probably lose his life. Then, that person raised his hand and flipped it over, took out a black token the size of half a palm, and threw it to Chu Hen. Clack! Chu Hen clenched his 5 fingers and caught the 10-clan order firmly in his hand. "Thank you for your cooperation." After receiving the first 10-clan order in his hand without hesitation, Chu Hen immediately turned around and left. "Which holy clan are you from?" "I have the cultivation of a great holy king of heaven stage." I can't accept that I lost to you just like that. The person behind him seemed to be somewhat unwilling to accept the fact that he had kicked an iron plate. Chu Hen didn't stop, nor did he intend to answer the other party. He only minded his own business and walked deeper into the dark forest. The person who stayed behind clenched his fists tightly. He was unconvinced, but there was nothing he could do. There are actually so many sacred figures hidden in this holy clan convention. Looks like an unexpected change is about to happen. Boom! Bang! Inside and outside the dark and vast forest, the initial tranquility turned into a riot. Intense battles broke out in the forest one after another. It was like an arena for trapped beasts. Everyone here was both the hunter and the prey. After this preliminary round, more than 90% of the people would be eliminated. The cruel competition system, the chaotic battles, it began to fully unfold in every corner of this small world. As time passed, the day was gradually shrouded in darkness. The huge forest began to resound with the long howls of the night wolves. Compared to the noise during the day, the battlefield at night was even more chaotic and noisy. However, in this chaotic situation where everyone was vying for supremacy, Chu Hen was like an unstoppable sharp blade, rapidly harvesting the battlefield. Anyone who encountered him was unable to retaliate and had their 10-tribe token directly taken away. Boom! The overwhelming palm force was unstoppable. Wherever it went, the ground cracked and the flowers and trees were like they were being attacked by a flood. Towering trees with luxuriant branches were all crushed into pieces. Along with the huge ravine on the ground that was scoured by the ferocious force, a battered and exhausted young figure laid powerlessly in the rubble of the collapsed rocks. His bloodless face was filled with shock as he looked at the slender young figure in front of him. You? Who exactly are you? The other party's figure was not burly as he stood in front of him, but the invisible aura he emitted was like an insurmountable mountain. Give it to me, Chu Hen said calmly. The man clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He then flipped his hand and handed over the 3 tokens unwillingly. After working hard for half a day, he had finally collected 3 10-tribe tokens, but now all his hard work had gone to someone else. However, he also knew that there were no rules to speak of in this place. If he lost, he could only bow his head obediently. After taking the 3 10-tribe tokens, Chu Hen slowly disappeared into the night under his opponent's horrified gaze. A chaotic battle broke out one after another. As some of the prey were defeated, the remaining hunters became more and more powerful. This was the reason for the cruelty of the competition. The further one went, the stronger the opponents one would encounter. If one were to fail, all the 10-tribe tokens that he had worked so hard to obtain would be wasted. As he entered the depths of the darkness, Chu Hen slowed down his pace. When he had just obtained the 3 10-tribe tokens, Chu Hen had already completed the task of collecting 10 tokens. Without a doubt, his speed was absolutely terrifying. However, according to the rules of the competition, even if he had obtained 10 tokens, he would still have to wait until the end of the preliminary round the next morning. In other words, even if he had dozens or even hundreds of 10-tribe tokens in his hands, it was highly possible that he would give them away to someone else. What Chu Hen had to do next was to hold on to the 10 tokens. When the preliminary round ended, he would successfully advance to the next round. Time ticked by. The chaotic battle that had lasted for a whole night gradually subsided. The vast and lush forest had long been destroyed beyond recognition. The ground was devastated, and the ruins and sinkholes of all sizes looked like they had been hit by a meteor shower. Dawn was approaching. The first ray of light from the horizon shone through the treetops and onto a young figure sitting on a tree branch more than 30 meters above the ground. Feeling the warm light shining on his face, Chu Hen subconsciously raised his hand to block his eyes. As his eyes gradually opened, Chu Hen stretched his body in satisfaction. It's finally a lot quieter. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a charming smile. He immediately leaped up and landed steadily on the ground in midair. The end of the preliminary round should be coming soon. Chu Hen secretly calculated for a moment, then prepared to leave. However, just as Chu Hen took 2 steps forward, the light of the first rays of dawn that spilled into the forest suddenly disappeared. The forest was once again shrouded in darkness. The darkness covered the sky like a black demonic claw of a nightmare, quickly eroding every corner. The sudden darkness directly covered everything in the surroundings, and it was even gloomier than the night. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows slightly raised, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Sacred Body of Darkness. Chapter 1601. The sacred body of darkness, like the claws of nightmares, black shadows quickly invaded and occupied every corner around Chu Hen. This sudden darkness was different from the darkness of the night. If it was night, there would at least be a glimmer of light. However, this darkness did not reveal a single ray of light. It was like an illusory darkness that swallowed all light. It was as if he had fallen into an endless black abyss, and all he could see was the endless darkness. In such an environment, anyone would be shrouded in depression. It was difficult to feel safe at all. However, Chu Hen, who was in the middle of it, did not have much of a change in his emotions. His pupils trembled slightly, and a strange rhythm of power appeared in the air. "Are you here to stand up for Xiaoyaoqing?" The corners of Chu Hen's mouth twitched slightly, and his pupils, which were glowing with a purple light, quietly turned. Screech, accompanied by the sharp sound of air waves, a few figures with extraordinary auras appeared in the darkness, like hunters hiding in the darkness. In particular, the leader of the group had a strong aura that was infinitely close to the level of a quasi-emperor. It was none other than the leader of the sacred clan of darkness, Linen. He had never met Linen before. He had nothing to do with the sacred clan of darkness. The only one he could contact was Xiaoyaoqing. "That's the demon eye for you. You can even find our location." A smile appeared on Lin En's face as he looked at Chu Hen's slightly demonic eyes. "What can I do for you?" Chu Hen replied calmly. "I wouldn't dare to teach you anything. I'm just a little interested in you. If you say that I'm here for Xiaoyaoqing, I won't deny it." Whoosh! As soon as Lin An's voice fell, another equally powerful and oppressive force came from the other side of Chu Hen. Buzz, beams of dazzling white light pierced through the dark sky like auroras, penetrating the darkness on Chu Hen's right flank and occupying half of the space. "This prey is mine," an arrogant voice came from the intense auroras. A few piercingly cold and extraordinary sharp qis quickly enveloped him. In an instant, the vast forest was immediately divided into 2 extremes. Chu Hen seemed to be trapped in the intersection of night and day. On one side was the dark abyss where the sun could not be seen, and on the other side was the land of light that was invaded by endless aurora. This feeling was like being between the sun and a black hole. No matter where they went, they would be engulfed in destruction. It seems that I have more than one trouble," Chu Hen said with a playful smile. The sword-like glint gradually approached. In the white light, a few blurry figures slowly walked over. Lin An could not help but feel a little surprised when he saw the leader. "Murong Yao, is this your prey?" "Light Saint Tribe, Murong Yao. Darkness Saint Race, Lin An." The 2 opposing sacred clans had actually appeared in the same arena. Furthermore, they had their eyes on the same target. This was somewhat surprising. "Yes," Murong Yao replied calmly. The few Light Saint Tribe members who were hidden in the endless light were like shaman spirits in the sun. They were so dazzling that people could not look at them directly. "Why are you looking for him?" Lin An asked calmly. "It has nothing to do with you," Murong Yao replied. Then, he looked back at Chu Hen, who was at the edge of the 2 worlds, and said, "As for you, you should know why I'm here, ha." Chu Hen laughed. His laughter was exceptionally light. "Aren't all of you here to watch me instead of participating in the Sacred Clan Conference? Isn't this a little off-topic? I'm participating in the Sacred Clan Conference, And you're taking me in as well. There's no conflict between the two. Murong Yao replied arrogantly. Chu Hen nodded slightly, his handsome brows raised. That seems to make sense, but I'm a little puzzled. Aren't you guys afraid of falling in the first round? The invisible aura caused waves of uneasiness in the air. Lin and Murong Yao's eyes could not help but turn cold. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly. To be honest, I can't even remember your names. ZZZT. The moment he finished speaking, the high-pitched cries of thousands of thunderbirds pierced their eardrums. Lin and Murong Yao's expressions suddenly changed. In the next second, with Chu Hen as the center, countless terrifying pillars of purple lightning erupted like a huge three-dimensional lightning net. Clang! Rumble! The ground split open and the space was torn apart. Terrifying pillars of purple light slithered along the ground like dragons and snakes. The dark black sky was quickly torn apart, and the dazzling white light was completely shattered. Burial Ultimate Storm, bang! The unstoppable purple vortex was like a destructive hurricane that could overturn the world. At the intersection of darkness and aurora, a large area of the ground collapsed and collapsed. Along with countless boulders that had broken free of gravity, the rapidly expanding purple storm set off a series of ferocious and terrifying dragon shadows. Roar! Roar! The peerless flames that tore apart the sky net rushed toward the people of the Light Sacred Clan in the darkness. Lin and Murong Yao's pupils shrank slightly, and they immediately retreated. Along with a series of shrill and hurried screams, the panic-stricken figures were crushed into powder by the demonic flames storm one after another. The areas that were shrouded by darkness and light were instantly destroyed. Large swathes of lush forests were razed to the ground. The wind was strong and dust and smoke filled the air. Lin and Murong Yao were both shocked and furious as they watched their companions evaporate in the blink of an eye. ****, I'm going to kill you. Murong Yao of the Light Sacred Clan had a ferocious look in his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong murderous aura erupted from him. He clenched his 5 fingers, and countless dazzling white vortexes gathered in his palm, condensing into an invincible sharp blade. Whoosh! In an instant, Murong Yao turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Light attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, the airflow around Chu Hen was cut apart. Blurry afterimages, like flickering lights, interweaved and shuttled back and forth in all directions around Chu Hen. It was extremely fast. Extremely destructive sharpness came from all angles to attack Chu Hen. The purple lightning arcs around him were also cut apart layer by layer. However, in the next second, with a whung, a vast wave of air spread out. An arm holding a sharp blade of light was firmly gripped by the 5 fingers of Chu Hen's left hand. The vortex, which had nowhere to vent, immediately spread out from under their feet. Not far away, Lin An's expression changed drastically. How is this possible? The scene in front of him almost made Lin An's eyes pop out of their sockets. Murong Yao, who was at the same level as him, had been controlled by Chu Hen just like that after using the light attack. Before this, Lin An had never seen anyone who could break Murong Yao's move. Even Lin An himself had almost suffered a loss in Murong Yao's hands. The flow of time seemed to slow down. Chu Hen firmly grabbed Murong Yao's arm with one hand like the arm of a demon. The light blade in his opponent's palm was less than 5 centimeters away from Chu Hen's head. You're very weak. Chu Hen raised his eyelids slightly and smiled faintly. You. Murong Yao's expression changed again. Then, his eyes trembled, and a pair of evil purple pupils were reflected in his eyes. The moment his voice fell, Chu Hen's 5 fingers that were strangling his opponent's arm suddenly exerted force. A huge brute force directly pulled Murong Yao's arm up. Like a powerless chick, the latter lost his balance and was lifted high. Immediately after, Chu Hen did a somersault in the air, raised his leg, and firmly kicked Murong Yao's chin. Bang! A dull explosion rang out and a powerful shockwave spread out. The enormous force gathered at one point, and the bones in Murong Yao's jaw instantly shattered. A large mouthful of blood mixed with broken teeth flew out of his mouth. The instant he was surrounded by fear, Murong Yao was sent flying, and he was dragged on the ground for several thousand meters before he was able to stop. After letting out a muffled sound, he lost consciousness. Looking at the long drag mark on the ground and Murong Yao's blood-stained face, Lin Nan of the sacred race felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Fear quietly enveloped his heart. Unconcealable shock filled his entire face. Murong Yao was a peak great Saint King expert who was even close to the quasi-emperor realm, and yet, he had been beaten like a dead dog by Chu Hen. Lin Nan's face was drained of blood. He looked at the calm Chu Hen, but it was as if he was looking at a vicious demon. Don't kill me." In the blink of an eye, his earlier arrogance had completely disappeared. Chu Hen turned around and smiled faintly. "Don't worry, I have to suppress my inner demon for now, so I can't kill too many people." As he spoke, Chu Hen turned around and left. Lin Nan gulped and heaved a sigh of relief. However, it was also at this moment that countless purple light spikes suddenly appeared around Lin Nan. The latter's pupils shrank. Along with a series of piercingly cold murderous auras, blood rained down and flesh flew everywhere. Amid heart-wrenching screams, Lin Nan's arms were instantly crushed by the interweaving purple light spikes. "You have to pay the price for standing up for someone else." Chu Hen's slightly playful voice rang out from the forest. He didn't even turn around to look at the miserable scene behind him. Chapter 1602. Dust and smoke filled the air and the ground collapsed. Large patches of lush vegetation had been destroyed in the vast forest. The seemingly tranquil depths of the forest were now in a terrifying atmosphere. That person is, who is it? That's terrifying. Did the Light Sacred Clan and the Darkness Sacred Clan kneel just like that? Forget it. Let's not go there. Let's wait for the promotion summon here. Yes. That's all we can do. I'm content to pass the preliminary round. After all, even these two have fallen here. I have no regrets. Looking at Murong Yao and Lin Nan lying in the ruins like dead dogs, all the contestants hiding in the forest felt a chill run down their spines. Two geniuses who were favored by the heavens. They had knelt in the first round of the preliminary round just like that. No one dared to imagine how the people outside would react if they found out about this. Murong Yao and Lin Nan were kneeling there. This also meant that their sacred race conference would end here. As for the talk about having a chance to become one of the 10 strongest sacred clans, it was all just a mirage. Rustling sounds could be heard from time to time around the forest. However, Chu Hen did not care about this. Alone, he passed through the lush and vast forest. Facing the bright sunlight of the morning, he walked to the front of an ancient building. On the wide square, huge white stone pillars collapsed one after another. Countless dark plants had climbed up the wide steps, and the color was somewhat dark. Caw, ruins could be seen everywhere. A few crows perched on a fortress behind the square, cawing hoarsely. There was no one around. There was an indescribable silence in the desolate ruins of the fortress. Thud. Chu Hen walked up the steps unhurriedly, stepping on the dust of countless years as he walked to the square. "It's almost time." Not long after he said that, a strange spatial rhythm spread out under Chu Hen's feet. Buzz, a series of gorgeous runes extended from the ground like spiritual vines, swaying left and right and connected. Soon, a beautiful glyph array that was more than 10 meters wide appeared not far in front of Chu Hen. As the talisman array slowly operated, Chu Hen's eyes flashed with astonishment. Did this count as a promotion? Whoosh, a faint sound of space cracking rang out, and a square stone platform slowly rose from the center of the glyph formation. This is... The stone platform was diagonally facing Chu Hen. In addition to a circle of exquisite patterns on the periphery, there was also a half-palm-sized groove in the middle of the inclined surface. The shape of the notch matched perfectly with the 10 race token. There were exactly 10 of them, no more, no less. Looking at this square stone platform, Chu Hen understood tacitly. This must be the summoning for advancement. With a thought, Chu Hen raised his hand and flipped it over. 10 beautifully crafted tokens floated in the air. Swish, with a wave of his hand, the 10 tokens immediately flew towards the stone platform in front of him and accurately embedded themselves into the grooves on the surface of the platform. Whoosh! In an instant, the stone platform shook slightly. Thousands of strands of gorgeous light patterns intertwined with each other. Along with the trembling space, a golden beam of light suddenly shot into the sky. At the same time, several other beams of light shot into the sky from the depths of the jungle behind. The summoning for advancement. After going through the cruel preliminary round, it was finally time to advance. Chu Hen looked up and walked towards the stone platform. Then, he reached out his hand towards the beam of light in front of him. When his arm merged into the beam of light, the gorgeous glyph array below the stone platform was fully activated. Streams of colorful light glowed brightly. Suddenly, just as Chu Hen was about to be teleported away, a sudden and powerful reverse gravitational force surged over without any warning. Chi! Crack! The invisible pulling force was like a magnet, causing the 10 tokens embedded in the 4 stone platforms to be pulled out. The corners of Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. In the next second, the space above the stone platform became extremely distorted. Bang! A series of heavy explosions sounded. The 10 tribe tokens were all crushed into pieces by brute force. Turbulent airwaves flew everywhere. Fragments of tokens, big and small, were like flying pieces of paper, wantonly scattering. In the same second that the 10 tribe tokens were destroyed, the gorgeous glyph array that enveloped Chu Hen immediately dimmed. The intense spatial rhythm also fell into a state of stillness. Hee. Looking at the sudden interruption of the summoning for advancement, Chu Hen laughed. His laugh was a little thought-provoking. He took a deep breath and shook his head with a smile. You really are like a ghost that won't go away. Then, he lifted his eyelids and swept his deep gaze directly toward a magnificent pavilion at the back of the square. Heh! Didn't I remind you before not to appear in front of me again? Why don't you cherish the time you're alive? Little trash born from Chu Rantian and Li Jixia. His frivolous laughter was filled with contempt. At the top of the pavilion, there was a young figure with an air of arrogance between his brows, exuding an innate extraordinary aura. So, what can I do for you? That dog of the reincarnation Saint clan. Buzz! The moment he finished speaking, Chu Hen's cold eyes flashed with a cold light. His gaze, which was flickering with wisps of sharp lightning arcs, was like a sharp sword as it shot towards the other party. Voila! At this moment, 2 invisible and powerful auras overlapped each other like raging waves and tsunamis, and they intersected in the heavens and the earth, bursting forth with intense spatial vibrations. You bastard! The 3 cold words came out of Chu Hen's mouth clearly and forcefully. The person who came was none other than a stranger. It was Zhong Qishi, one of the top 3 favorites of the Samsara Saint clan. He had only seen it twice, and this was the 3rd time. The conflict between the two continued to intensify. Dog? Ha 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 ha! Zhong Qishi laughed. His laughter was exceptionally bright. What a surprise! I thought you would kneel down and beg for mercy. Not bad, not bad. I'm very satisfied. I didn't wait for you for so long in vain. Chu Hen didn't care about Zhong Qishi's sneer. He raised his handsome eyebrows. Please forgive me. I really can't think of a better way to address you. Also, you just destroyed my 10 race token, so I hope you can compensate me. After all, I don't have much time left, and I still need to advance to the next round. Zhong Qishi's smile turned cold as he looked at Chu Hen's nonchalant expression. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes and he smiled coldly. As you wish, I'll send you to the next round. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, Zhong Qishi raised one arm to the right, and along with an extremely powerful spatial fluctuation, the abandoned castle behind the plaza rose from the cracked ground. The huge castle was like a towering mountain, and under Zhong Qishi's control, it directly floated in the air. I'm afraid you don't know anything about power. Today, I'll show you what the 6 paths of reincarnation is. Buzz! Waves of air that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas came shrouding down, and a black shadow covered the sky. Zhong Qishi's palm trembled in the air, and as if it carried infinite divine power, the huge castle pierced through the sky and smashed toward Chu Hen. For example, a mountain pressing down. Facing the incoming castle, the corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a mocking smile. Then, Chu Hen actually met the momentum and directly rushed toward the castle. The size of the two was completely disproportionate. Looking from afar, Chu Hen was really small and pitiful. In the process of moving, Chu Hen suddenly burst out with a bright and beautiful purple lightning. Under the intertwining of thousands of lightning arcs, a series of deafening thunderclaps could be heard. Chu Hen was like a meteor piercing through the aurora of a meteor. The magnificent castle was directly penetrated diagonally, leaving a deep and narrow gap. Purple lightning arcs streaked across the sky, stunning the vast sky. Chu Hen instantly arrived in front of Zhong Qishi. He condensed one palm, and violent purple lightning gathered on his palm and arm. The purple lightning palm blade, which could cut through everything, suddenly attacked Zhong Qishi's heart in the form of a thrust. Hey, you've improved. You can even get close to me this time. A cold smile appeared on Zhong Qishi's face. Facing Chu Hen's extremely threatening attack, he unhurriedly moved back slightly. Reincarnation shield. Buzz, streaks of twisted, ring-shaped light patterns crisscrossed in front of Zhong Qishi, instantly forming a black, spiral-shaped shield. Bang! Sparks and fiery rain splashed, and the violent destructive power in Chu Hen's palm heavily hit the reincarnation shield. Countless dazzling arcs of lightning spread out and exploded. However, in the next second, Chu Hen's expression couldn't help but change slightly. He suddenly felt a powerful electric shock attack him. The two forces collided violently, causing a series of distortions in the space. This power is, Chu Hen frowned. He couldn't help but feel a little shocked. Hey, continue. Zhong Qishi laughed mockingly. You really don't know anything about power. My reincarnation shield can reflect all attacks. The reincarnation shield moved in the opposite direction. For example, it was similar to the star transposition, which could reverse the opponent's attack. Chu Hen's eyes flashed with a deep cold light. Following that, a wave of ancient, desolate, and majestic aura leaked out from his body. The black light that was mixed with countless complicated secret scrolls was like a tsunami that could overturn the sky. Powerful rings of light gathered towards Chu Hen's arms and fists. The fist pillar, which contained the power of the Great Path, exploded down with tremendous force. Bang! With an earth-shattering sound, the vast black halo spread out in the sky, and even the pavilion below collapsed. The tyrannical black fist pillar directly pierced through the turbine-shaped reincarnation shield, creating a huge gap. It doesn't seem that amazing. Chapter 1603. Looks like you're nothing much. As the aftermath of the black halo spread out in the sky, the attic building below instantly collapsed and collapsed. Zhong Qishi's expression abruptly changed. A ferocious black fist pillar that originated from Chu Hen's arm had directly pierced through the reincarnation shield in front of him. How could this be? Zhong Qishi frowned. His shield of reincarnation was actually unable to reflect Chu Hen's power? Before Zhong Qishi could react, the black fist pillar that contained all kinds of divine power slammed down and solidly hit Zhong Qishi's chest. Bang! Another dull thud sounded. Zhong Qishi's eyes widened, and he felt the blood in his body surge. The peerless fist pillar was like a heavenly ray that could pierce through mountains and rivers, and its terrifying momentum directly blasted his opponent to the ground. Boom, rubble flew into the sky and the ground caved in. Countless gravel was like a swarm of locusts dancing in the sky, and the mighty black chi waves swept out in all directions. Zhong Qishi was forcefully smashed into the hundreds of meters deep pit by Chu Hen's fist. Hee. Zhong Qishi, who had been smashed into the pit, revealed a cold and eerie smile. His eyes were scarlet red, and he looked slightly ferocious. You've improved a lot. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant, but you're still too inexperienced to defeat me. After saying that, Zhong Qishi, who was lying in the ruins, slapped the ground with one hand. Hiss, a dull explosion rang out, and a circle of dark black light spread out. In an instant, billions of rubble, big and small, immediately flew into the sky. The densely packed and numerous rubble completely broke free from the gravity of the Earth's core. Human Tao Force Guide Rumble. The power of wind and thunder pierced the ears, and the rubble that filled the sky quickly fused together, instantly transforming into a rock giant that was more than 1,000 meters tall. The rock giant erupted with a terrifying power that could shake the heavens, and its giant palm grabbed at the void. Rumble. The other rubble below rapidly gathered in its hand, instantly forming a sharp stone pillar. The rock giant raised the huge sharp stone pillar and attacked Chu Hen. Humph! The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a mocking smile. He flipped his 5 fingers, and a loud and clear sword cry resounded. The formless emperor blade swayed with bewitching purple lightning as it shot out with breathtaking momentum. Without any hesitation, Zhang Xian raised his sword. Buzz, along with the thick whistling sound of the air waves being cut apart, a peerless sword light that caused the world to darken slanted across the sky. Boom! The sky exploded, and the huge, sharp stone pillar that was flying over was immediately split into 2. The sword momentum was piercingly cold like frost. It was as if a storm had arrived. The moment the stone pillar was split open, the rock giant's palm was chopped off by the unstoppable sword light. It's enough to use the same move once. Chu Hen's eyes flickered with a fierce arc of light. The formless emperor blade in his hand blossomed with a dreamy light that was like a pair of wings. Shortly after, Chu Hen's sword raised the Tao. Then, an extraordinary purple sword pillar, like a divine blade that could cut through the rainbow, firmly chopped the body of the rock giant. Clang! A cloud of scattered dust burst out, and a beam of dazzling purple light flashed between heaven and earth. The more than a kilometer-tall rock giant was instantly split into 2. You're too proud, Zhong Qishi, who had jumped out of the ruins of the giant sinkhole, once again stood in the void. A sudden cold wind roared in all directions, and Zhong Qishi's eyes were filled with incomparably strong killing intent and chilliness. For not killing you back then, I solemnly apologize. Wah! A ghostly howl resounded, and dark clouds covered the sky. An aura that exuded endless chilliness immediately crushed towards Chu Hen. Zhong Qishi's eyes shot out 2 beams of red bloodlight. The surging dark red light was like a chaotic storm that invaded heaven and earth. A Jura of reincarnation, a terrifying aura suddenly filled the sky, and Zhong Qishi's body was filled with a monstrous majestic situation. A Jura hand of calamity! He shouted loudly. A deafening, heavy cracking sound exploded in the 9 heavens, and together with the space that was torn apart by the huge brute force, a hideous hand covered in scars directly reached for Chu Hen in front of him. It was like the hand of a demon from another plane. The 5 sharp fingers were like giant blades. Wherever this Azura hand went, heaven and earth darkened, and all things lost their color. The extremely cold, bone-chilling wind filled the sky. Feeling the terrifying destructive power coming from the Azura's hand, Lin Feng's eyes widened. A faint light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. Buzz! In the next moment, countless dazzling silver light patterns swam around Chu Hen's body. Innumerable strands of resplendent light rapidly condensed around Chu Hen, forming a gorgeous and dazzling diamond-shaped essence. In the blink of an eye, thousands of magnificent star jade with powerful killing power floated around Chu Hen. It was like a mysterious wizard spirit that controlled the vast power of the stars. An especially strong spatial rhythm spread out. Thousand star chess. Chu Hen shouted sternly. In an instant, a strong wind was triggered, like a frost blade wreaking havoc. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, countless rhombus-shaped essences exploded outwards, the forceful and rapid energy waves dragging out beams of blazing light in the air. It was like a rain of arrows, full of murderous intent. In the process of high-speed movement, the densely packed magnificent star jade all converged in the middle. Along with the constantly tearing and trembling space, thousands of magnificent star jade condensed into a large diamond-shaped essence that was more than 10 meters wide, exploding with extreme speed. It directly became bright red because of the high-speed friction with the air. Bang! An unprecedentedly violent explosion rang out in the void, and the magnificent star jade dragged a crimson vortex of light behind it as it slammed straight into the Azura Tribulation Hand, which contained a great momentum that blotted out the heavens. The gorgeous light stunned the world. The moment a chaotic silver halo surged out, the hand of Azura that covered the sky was immediately pierced by the sharp flowing light. It was unstoppable. Thousands of murderous auras tore the sky. The magnificent star jade that pierced through the hand of Azura didn't slow down. Like a sharp star shuttle, it directly attacked Zhong Qishi behind it. Not bad. You've broken through 3 of my moves in a row. Zhong Qishi smiled coldly. Then, I'll let you see what the real power of Azura is, wah. Suddenly, Zhong Qishi let out a sharp howl that sounded like a ghost. The dark blood light that soared into the sky was like a river. The blood vessels and tendons in his body quickly bulged, and the nails on his hands became sharp. A white dot appeared in the depths of his eyes, and even his black hair turned white. A terrible evil aura covered the sky and covered the earth. Behind Zhong Qishi, there seemed to be a blood-colored Azura shadow. He himself directly transformed into a ghostly Azura, and his demonic arm directly raised a terrifying palm. Like a hurricane, the palm energy crushed toward the large magnificent star jade that was flying over. Then, the magnificent star jade was like an ice crystal that had encountered a high temperature. As it moved, it rapidly melted. When the magnificent star jade arrived in front of Zhong Qishi, a powerful force once again exploded in Zhong Qishi's palm. The rhombus-shaped essence, which had shrunk to less than a tenth, couldn't hold on any longer. It immediately collapsed into countless crystal fragments. But at the exact same instant that the magnificent star jade shattered, a wisp of sharp and cold light silently appeared. Amidst the wantonly flying crystal fragments, there was actually a sharp divine sword flickering with purple lightning arcs hidden within. Looking at the divine sword, Zhong Qishi sneered disdainfully. The other party actually hid a weapon in the magnificent star jade. This kind of trick. It was really a little ridiculous. Child's play. As his voice fell, Zhong Qishi twisted his palm like a demon's claw, locking the formless emperor blade that was flying over. However, just as Zhong Qishi's palm was about to grab the formless emperor blade, a sudden and vigorous wave of air surged over. The formless emperor blade's speed suddenly increased, and the purple lightning that flickered on the blade also shone brightly. Swoosh! In the next second, the peerless edge of the formless emperor blade directly streaked across Zhong Qishi's fingertip. Then, under a powerful driving force, it directly hit the other party's chest. Hiss! A string of bright red blood splattered, and the gorgeous purple lightning immediately penetrated the other party's chest and back. The formless emperor blade's edge mercilessly tore the other party's body apart. Zhong Qishi's ferocious white pupils rapidly shrank. Impressively, his eyes reflected the indifferent and handsome face of a young man. And on this handsome face, a pair of deep eyes faintly flickered with purple light. Is that all you've got? The Super Monster of the Samsara Saint Clan. Chapter 1604. Is that all you've got? A super monster from the Samsara Saint Clan. Chu Hen coldly spat out an undisguised mockery. Frost and dust filled the sky, and lightning flickered in the sky. A purple lightning serpent pierced through the chest of Zhongqishi, one of the Samsara Saint clan's 3 most popular contenders for the championship. It was a dazzling sight to behold. In front of Zhongqishi, Chu Hen firmly grasped the hilt of the formless emperor blade with one hand. His handsome and determined face was filled with disdain. Zhongqishi's ice-cold eyes were suffused with a thick chill. Don't be too happy. This is just the beginning. An even more intense energy fluctuation spread out from Zhongqishi's body, and the chaotic storm that filled the world became even more intense. Then, an invisible repulsive force spread out, and the formless emperor blade that had pierced through Zhongqishi's chest was swiftly pulled out. However, the corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a slight arc. I don't have that much time to waste with you. This is not the beginning, but the end. As he spoke, Chu Hen used his other hand to firmly grasp Zhongqishi's shoulder. The formless emperor blade that had yet to be completely pulled out was like a long nail that was firmly nailed into Zhongqishi's body. A sinister smile spread across Zhongqishi's face. You're courting death, then. His palm turned into a claw, and the peerless Azura demon claw directly attacked Chu Hen's dantian. However, in the next moment, Zhongqishi's mind suddenly trembled, and a great feeling of powerlessness suddenly spread throughout his entire body. Zhongqishi's eyes widened and his face was filled with shock. He suddenly discovered that he couldn't muster the slightest bit of strength. It was as if all the strength in his body had been sealed. Reincarnation, Azura. Zhongqishi bellowed, and the bloodline power in his body was completely unleashed. But in the next second, all the power in his body was suppressed. Do you feel that your strength has been sealed? Chu Hen said with a frivolous smile. You! Zhongqishi was surprised and suspicious. Look behind. Chu Hen replied with a smile. Behind? Zhongqishi knitted his brows and slowly turned his head. Then, an extremely chilling aura spread throughout his body. What entered Zhongqishi's eyes was an incomparably huge towering tree. No one knew when this giant tree had appeared here, but it exuded a terrifying aura that was neither good nor evil. Its canopy, which covered the sky, was lush with leaves, and swayed with a dark red enchantment. The trunk of the tree was covered with ancient and complicated runes. On the trunk of the giant tree, there was a lifelike picture of a ferocious symbol beast. Especially the eyes of the talisman beast, which revealed an evil light. The evil symbol beast's eyes stared right at Zhongqishi. Only then did the latter realize that his body was already bound by several ice-cold and heavy black metal chains. Even though these metal chains were not real and were merely illusions, the restraining force that they brought directly sealed all of his strength. The cold wind and frost were bone-chilling. Zhongqishi's face turned pale. Looking back at Chu Hen, he was not afraid at all. You have some skills. I hate the way you smile. Chu Hen replied indifferently. Then what can you do to me? Hiss. Before Zhongqishi could finish his sentence, there was a sudden surge of air. Fresh blood splattered in the blue sky, and a purple shadow blade quietly streaked across the sky. Zhongqishi's right arm was directly cut off from his shoulder. Zhongqishi made a muffled sound, and his entire face turned gloomy and red. However, Chu Hen's left hand was still firmly locked on his shoulder, and he could not even struggle. Your advice in the southern continent is still fresh in my memory. Chu Hen's eyes were calm, and there was not the slightest fluctuation of emotion. Zhongqishi deeply inhaled a breath of cold air, and his smile became even more disdainful. That was not advice, it was an insult. You loser, Qi. Before he could finish his sentence, Zhongqishi's left arm was neatly cut off by a purple shadow blade. The intense pain made Zhongqishi's face turn purple, and his veins bulged. But even so, Zhongqishi had no intention of yielding. Well done, but so what? Do you dare to kill me? Do you have the guts? The endless mockery was especially ear-piercing. Bang, bang, in the next moment, Zhong Qishi's legs were also crushed by a purple light pattern. Pieces of flesh splattered and white bones splattered. 2 clouds of blood mist scattered in the void. Zhong Qishi finally couldn't bear it anymore, and he roared after his limbs were destroyed. His body trembled violently, and he swayed uneasily. This feels good. Even so, Zhong Qishi was extremely stubborn. The Reincarnation Saint clan was publicly recognized as the strongest of the 10 saint clans. The Demon Eye Saint clan had fallen to the point where they were about to be eliminated. Zhong Qishi couldn't even be bothered to lower his head to Chu Hen. There was no way he would beg for mercy. Ha 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 ha. Kill me if you can. You don't have the guts. Trash, heh. Zhong Qishi was almost deranged. He knew that Chu Hen wouldn't dare. The Demon Eye Saint clan wouldn't dare to provoke the Reincarnation Saint clan even if they had 10 gut. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's figure slightly leaned forward, and he whispered into the other's ear, "I won't kill you. Back then, you let me off in the southern land, so today, I'll let you live as well. The humiliation you suffered back then made me remember it for 3 months, and the pain I'm giving you now will last for the rest of your life." Chu Hen's words were gentle. It was as if he was talking to a close friend. After a pause, Chu Hen's lips curled into a charming smile. "Also, let me tell you something else. Limbs destroyed by the 8-star demon eye won't grow back." "What? 8-star demon eye?" Zhong Qishi's heart skipped a beat when he heard those words. In the next moment, Chu Hen, who was standing up, raised his eyebrows. Screech, the extremely powerful spatial rhythm, and the sharp whistling sound of the airwaves pierced Zhong Qishi's eardrums, and the latter's face suddenly turned extremely pale. In the depths of Chu Hen's demonic and bewitching demonic eyes, 8 black dots were slowly chasing each other. Whoosh! In that instant, Zhong Qishi felt like he was staring at a peerless demon god. The cold smile that originated from Chu Hen's pair of purple eyes instantly threw Zhong Qishi into an icy abyss. 8-star demon eye. It came with a heavy injury effect. With Zhong Qishi's cultivation level, he couldn't recover his limbs that were destroyed by this power. His arrogance and smugness immediately disappeared. Zhong Qishi knew that Chu Hen wouldn't dare to kill him. He also knew that the limbs destroyed by the enemy could regenerate on their own. However, when he saw Chu Hen's 8-star demon eye, he finally fell into a state of unprecedented fear. His hands and feet, lost forever. This was Chu Hen's revenge. It was also the pain he was returning to his opponent. This pain would last for the rest of Zhong Qishi's life. No, Zhong Qishi panicked, completely panicked. He stared at Chu Hen with hatred. "You're lying to me. Don't even think about lying to me. I won't fall for it, hee. Chu Hen's smile was especially light. "It looks like you don't know anything about the power of the 8-star demon pupils. Furthermore, I'm the child of Chu Rantian and Li Jixia. Use the rest of your life to hate me. I hereby announce that this is the end of your sacred clan conference." Bang! A powerful purple shockwave once again exploded in the void. Zhong Qishi's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The huge shockwave sent him flying again, crashing into the rubble below. The mental and physical damage caused the super genius of the Samsara Saint clan to break down. He stared at the young figure in the sky with hatred and resentment. "I should have killed you back in the southern continent. I'm sorry, but you couldn't kill me back then either." Chu Hen's eyes widened, and a black figure stood in the sky like a demon god. Zhong Qishi's eyes were wide open. An invisible pressure spread on his body, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Right now, he was like an ant in a crack in a rock, extremely weak. Horror, terror, disbelief. Zhong Qishi's body and mind were filled with helplessness. His eyes quickly dimmed. "I see." Chapter 1605. The bleak cold wind whistled in all directions. At a glance, the ancient ruins had been completely reduced to ruins. The huge square was already in a state of desolation, and cracks of various sizes extended to every corner inside and outside. Even so, the square stone platform in the square was still standing in the center of the talisman array. From afar, the light emitted by the talisman array had become very dim. It was like a candle in the cold wind that would dissipate at any time. Obviously, the time for the preliminary round was coming to an end. Chu Hen glanced indifferently at Zhong Qishi in the ruins. At this moment, Zhong Qishi was already half dead in a pile of rubble. Having lost his limbs, he was in a worse state than a dead dog on the street. Then, Chu Hen shifted his gaze to the other side of the rock gap, where Zhong Qishi's left arm was quietly resting. On the thumb of his left arm, there was a storage treasure similar to a thumb ring. With a thought from Chu Hen, an invisible gravitational force was emitted, and the thumb ring immediately separated from the thumb. Then, with a swoosh, it steadily fell into Chu Hen's palm. His consciousness dove into it. Then, he slightly opened his 5 fingers. Buzz! Along with a light spatial rhythm, 10 tokens the size of half a palm directly floated out of the thumb ring. You brought this upon yourself. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly, and with a thought, the 10 clan tokens immediately flew toward the stone platform with a swoosh sound and accurately embedded themselves in the grooves on the platform. Buzz! Just like before, the talisman array under the stone platform that was about to disappear was fully activated again. Along with countless dazzling array patterns intertwining and flashing, a majestic golden light pillar soared into the sky, piercing the void of the 9th heaven. In a flash, Chu Hen's figure flashed and directly flashed into the range of the light pillar. The piercingly cold airflow rotated at a high speed, and the space where Chu Hen was immediately showed a strange distortion. Hua! With an impatient sound, Chu Hen's figure disappeared along with the dazzling light pillar that soared into the sky. After a brief spatial shift, Chu Hen immediately felt that he was standing firmly on flat ground, but his surroundings were pitch black. Wherever he looked, it was as if a black curtain had covered him. He couldn't see anything clearly. Just as Chu Hen's heart was filled with doubt, a powerful sound that was like a sudden clap of thunder reverberated above his head. The time limit for the preliminaries of the Sacred Race Convention has ended. Next, let us see exactly which proud sons of heaven will successfully advance to the second round. Everyone, please wait and see. Just wait and see. Boom. In an instant, the darkness that covered the sky and covered the earth was suddenly lifted. At the same time, countless rays of dazzling light sprinkled down, and cheers that were like a tsunami rose from all directions. Saint Race Assembly, the earth-shattering celebration was extremely enthusiastic, and the deafening shouts could be said to be comparable to the wind and rain. The lightning-like palm force was even more like the arrival of a storm. Under the bright and beautiful sunlight, the incomparably spectacular scene was like that of a god in the heavens. A giant soaring sky platform that was more than 2,000 feet wide directly floated under the blue sky. Looking from afar, the soaring sky platform could be said to be peerless and peerless. Giant chains that pierced through the void, like iron chains that crossed a river, were inserted at the side of the soaring sky battle platform, and were connected to the other giant peaks in the surroundings. And, on the surrounding giant peaks, there were already many spectator arenas set up. Every spectator area was packed with people. They were like a dense colony of ants. Many spectator stands made of towering mountains that reached the clouds stood in every corner of the Lingshao balcony in the shape of stars surrounding the moon. In addition, there were giant birds and cranes soaring in the sky above the spiritual Empress Peak. Such a shocking scene and venue could be said to be incomparable. At this moment, more than 100 sacred race geniuses, including Chu Hen, stood on the soaring sky platform. Everyone, congratulations, you have successfully advanced to the second round. In the sky above the north of the soaring sky platform, the deputy peak leader of the spiritual Empress Peak, Luo Tong, said gently. Then, he waved his hand and said in an impassioned manner, "Everyone, please please cheer for them. Wow. La! Reincarnation Saint Clan, the strongest. Star Saint Clan, victory. Thunder Saint Clan, rise. Extremely enthusiastic applause could be heard incessantly, causing the entire heaven and earth to shake faintly. The geniuses of the various sacred clans were also cheering for their own supporters. Chu Hen was also looking for Luo Mengchang in the surrounding crowd. In the extremely spacious soaring sky platform, only less than 200 people had advanced to the second round, which was much lower than what everyone had predicted. Chu Hen's gaze swept across the surroundings. He saw Meng Shilin of the Star Saint Clan, Di Qiong of the Burning Sky Saint Clan, Lu Mian of the Great Wilderness Saint Clan, and a few other familiar figures. Lu Yuji of the Reincarnation Saint Clan had also successfully advanced to the second round. There was also Lei Kun of the Thunder Saint Clan, who was as dazzling as a star. Very quickly, within the crowd, a pair of gentle and beautiful eyes that contained warmth entered Chu Hen's eyes. Looking at the familiar face of absolute beauty, Chu Hen's suspended heart could finally be put down. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang could not help but smile at each other, then quickly walk towards each other. Third brother, Mengchang. At this moment, a familiar voice was heard beside the two of them. Big brother? Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were taken aback. They turned to look, only to see Long Qingyang walking towards them. How did you do it? Chu Hen looked at Long Qingyang, who had appeared on the high firmament balcony. The latter sniffed and laughed heartily. Previously, when I saw so many people participating in the Sacred Clan Convention, I couldn't hold myself back. Not long after the two of you entered the mysterious Heaven Myriad Change formation, I also wanted to participate and give it a try. I didn't expect that I would pass. Ha ha, the two of them could not help but laugh. Big brother, you are a peak heaven stage great saint king. It is normal for you to pass the preliminary round. You have the strength to do so. It was just luck, Long Qingyang said humbly. How was it? Did the two of you have it easy? I was fine. Luo Mengchang smiled. As for me, before Chu Hen could answer, a surprised voice suddenly sounded outside the high firmament balcony. What's going on? Where is Zhong Qishi of the Reincarnation Saint Clan? Clang! This question was like an ear-piercing thunderbolt that exploded in the sky above the spirit abyssal peak. Zhong Qishi? Not here? In an instant, Lei Kun, Lu Yuji, Meng Shilin, Di Qiong, and the others' eyes turned cold as they scanned the surrounding crowd. Chapter 1606. Where's Zhong Qishi from the Samsara Saint Clan? In an instant, the entire Ling Shao Terrace was shocked. The various sacred clans and factions, as well as the spectators on the various giant peaks, all stared blankly at the 100-plus young figures with extraordinary auras standing on the high firmament terrace. Lei Kun, Lu Yuji, Meng Shilin, Di Qiong, and many other geniuses were as dazzling as the stars in the sky. But what was shocking was that Zhong Qishi, one of the three emperor-to-be from the Samsara Saint Clan, was nowhere to be seen. Zhong Qishi, who was also one of the hot favorites to win, was extremely popular. But such a dazzling and powerful existence was missing. Huh? It can't be? Yan Hanyu's eyebrows twitched slightly as an incredulous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, where the Burning Heaven Saint Clan was seated. Am I that accurate? Chen Jingfeng from the Star Sacred Clan chuckled. Don't jinx it. The crowd was getting more and more restless. What's going on? Zhong Qishi didn't make it to the preliminary round? Isn't this too exaggerated? The cultivation of an emperor-to-be. One of the three leaders of the Samsara Saint Clan had knelt in the first round? They didn't even dare to dream of such a thing. Everyone instinctively looked at Luo Shan, the deputy peak leader of the spiritual pagoda peak, as if asking him if he had made a mistake during the summoning. Zhong Qishi didn't come out? Luo Shan also frowned, a thoughtful look on his face. But at this moment, there were a few exclamations from the crowd outside the arena. Wait, Murong Yao from the Light Saint Clan isn't here either. And Linen from the Dark Saint clan isn't here either. What's going on? Are they here as well? The entire arena was in an uproar. It was as if an explosive meteorite had been thrown into a calm lake. Everyone in the audience couldn't help but reveal a deep sense of disbelief. The number one of the Light Saint clan. The number one of the Dark Saint clan. One of the three leaders of the Samsara Saint clan. None of these three geniuses appeared in the preliminary round. There must be something fishy going on. There must be something wrong with the summoning. It's impossible that none of them made it to the next round. We have to find out immediately. Luo Shan, the deputy peak master, frowned in the face of the various suspicions from the audience. He hesitated for a moment and was about to send a few people behind him to the arena to investigate the specific situation. But at this time, from the southeast and southwest direction of the spiritual abyssal peak, a continuous stream of people rushed over. The newcomers were none other than the other participants who had failed to advance in the preliminary round. Groups after groups of people came over while talking to each other. TSK, TSK, TSK. This is 2F** King tragic. This isn't something a human would do. Those two are also quite miserable. One of them even had his jaw broken, and all his teeth were crushed. The other one even lost both his hands. It's simply insane. What are you all talking about? Who's miserable? Someone in the audience asked those who had been eliminated in the preliminary round. Who else could it be? Zhong Qishi, Murong Yao, and Lin An are simply too horrible to look at. The speaker did not mean anything, but the listener took it to heart. The already strange atmosphere caused everyone's heartstrings to tremble. The geniuses from the various clans also looked at the person who spoke. What do you mean? Where are the three of them right now? Did they advance? Advance? What? I don't even know if they're dead or alive. Swoosh, as soon as he said that, everyone on the Lingxiao balcony and the audience gasped in shock. Chen Jingfeng and Yan Hanyu subconsciously looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Lei Kun, Meng Shilin, Lu Mian, and the other geniuses who had advanced could not help but raise their brows. What did you just say? Who's so reckless? Lu Yuji from the Samsara Saint clan immediately appeared in front of the group with a cold gaze. Everyone's expressions changed slightly. Only then did they realize that everyone in the entire competition venue was paying attention to the news over here. Yes, yes, speak. Lu Yuji's voice was slightly cold. Zhong Qishi, Murong Yao, Lin An, all of them are severely injured, all of them. The two words were like sharp needles that hurt everyone's eardrums. It wasn't a summoning malfunction. It was just that the three of them did not pass the preliminary round. Why? Could it be that Zhong Qishi encountered the two of them and fought them alone? Both of them were severely injured? Someone tentatively guessed. No. The person shook his head firmly. I was in the same competition area as the three of them. It wasn't a conflict between the three of them. They were all defeated by the same person. Swoosh. In an instant, the entire arena was filled with gasps. Oh my God! It's a little crazy. It's not just a little crazy. It's simply insane, okay? Lu Yuji clenched her fists, her beautiful face frosty. Who was it? She spat out the two words coldly. This. The person who was being questioned was a little puzzled as he lifted his eyes to look at the 100 people who had advanced to the high sky platform. After which, he shook his head and said, I don't know. Both battles ended too quickly. When we rushed over, we only saw a blurry figure and did not see that person's appearance. The battles ended too quickly. Hearing these words, everyone's expression changed again and again. Their hearts were filled with shock and astonishment. Didn't this mean that the three super geniuses, Zhong Qishi, Murong Yao, and Lin An, lost miserably in just a few rounds? Shock. Absolute shock. Disbelief and complicated gazes fell on the more than 100 young figures on the high firmament balcony. Everyone was trying to find the mysterious person who had slashed the three popular people. Yushunin, who was in the spectator seats of the Samsara Saint clan, couldn't help but narrow his eyes. His cold gaze swept across the crowd. "Is it Lei Kuan?" someone asked suspiciously. "I don't know." The strongest of the 10 sacred clans advanced directly. "Other than Lei Kuan, I really can't think of anyone else who could pose such a threat to those three people." Most people's attention was focused on the Thunder Saint clan's genius, Lei Kuan. He was a monster that had been hidden by the Thunder Saint clan for many years. In the past many years, no one even knew of his existence. However, Lei Kuan just stood there coldly. He was neither arrogant nor impatient. His emotions didn't seem to have changed much. Could it be him? Chen Jingfeng of the Sacred Star clan asked thoughtfully. Not far away, Yan Hanyu sneered. Who cares who he is? That stupid dog Zhong Qishi really has no choice but to be punished by the heavens. He didn't even advance in the preliminary round. I'm afraid he won't have the face to show his face in the future. Chen Jingfeng shook his head at Yan Hanyu's mockery. The fox grieves for the rabbit. Zhong Qishi's defeat is not a good thing for us. Chen Jingfeng once again looked at the 100 young figures with extraordinary bearings on the high firmament terrace. His eyes were filled with caution as he scanned the crowd. There's a very powerful dark horse hidden among these people, and we know nothing about him. Hearing these words, Yan Hanyu's expression gradually became solemn. In the spectator seats of the Sacred Eye clan, Bai Qianyu's beautiful eyes quietly landed on the slightly thin young man standing next to Luo Mengshang and Long Qingyang. Her bright and beautiful peach blossom eyes were filled with indescribable complexity and helplessness. Chapter 1607. As the eliminated contestants returned to the venue for the second round, everyone had no choice but to accept the fact that Zhong Qishi of the Samsara Sacred Clan, Murong Yao of the Light Sacred Clan, and Lin Un of the Dark Sacred Clan had lost in the first round. At that moment, the atmosphere inside and outside of the Ling Shao balcony, as well as the various spectator stands, was unusually restless. Everyone's eyes were filled with suspicion. Even the monstrous geniuses of the 10 most powerful sacred clans were trying to find the mysterious dark horse among the 100 or so people who had advanced to the next level. Haha, this is getting more and more interesting. The Dragon Blood Sacred Clans team was seated on a luxurious spectator stand on a giant peak to the west of the Ling Shao balcony. The person in the lead was tall and sturdy. The bulging veins on his muscular arms were as clear as a horned dragon. The domineering aura that emanated from between his brows made people feel fearful. Coupled with his dark golden metallic pupils, he gave off a fierce aura of an ancient great beast. The Samsara Sacred Clan suffered such a huge loss at the beginning. I feel like laughing. Senior brother Longmia, look who that person is. At this moment, another person beside the burly man pointed at the high sky terrace. That's the person who took our clan's Dragon Yuan. Oh? The domineering man named Dragonslayer raised an eyebrow and looked at Long Qingyang. So it's him? Yes, it's only been a few months, but this thief's cultivation seems to have improved quite a bit. It seems that he has refined most of the Dragon Yuan's power. I didn't expect him to be so bold as to participate in the Sacred Clan Conference. The man said coldly with a vicious look in his eyes. The Dragon Yuan had been stolen, and the Dragon Blood Sacred Clan should have gone after Long Qingyang a long time ago. However, it just so happened that the Sacred Clan Conference was about to begin, and the relationship between the various Sacred Clan forces was rather sensitive. If the matter of sacrificing humans to dragon essence were to spread like wildfire at this point in time, it would be a huge loss to the Sacred Dragon tribe. The other Sacred Clans could turn a blind eye to it if the news was quiet, but if the world knew about it, the Dragon Blood Sacred Clan would not be able to withstand the condemnation of the other clans. Hence, the matter of getting the dragon essence back from Long Qingyang had been delayed again and again. This gave Long Qingyang time to refine the Dragon Yuan, and in just 3 months, he had reached the heaven-ranked Great Sage King realm. It had to be said that Long Qingyang and Long Yuan's compatibility was much higher than expected. If it were an ordinary person, not to mention absorbing the power of the dragon essence, they might even suffer from the backlash of the dragon essence. What a lucky boy! He managed to escape from the 9-dragon cauldron. Hee. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Dragon Annihilation's mouth. His gloomy and ferocious metallic pupils revealed sharpness. At the same time, the 100 or so contestants who had completed the first round of advancement walked to the audience seats outside the arena amidst sighs and boos, returning to their respective teams. The Darkness Sacred Tribe and the Light Sacred Tribe were on the verge of exploding. In comparison, the Samsara Sacred Tribe had a bad start, but they still had super monsters like Lu Yuji and Yu Shinin, so they weren't affected too much. On the other hand, the Darkness Sacred Tribe and the Light Sacred Tribe announced the end of the Sacred Race Conference. Given the current situation, the leaders of the Light Sacred Tribe and the Darkness Sacred Tribe probably won't be attending this Sacred Race Conference. Isn't that obvious? They've already lost in the preliminary round. What a disgrace. They've really made history. I can't help but feel that something very important is about to happen in this Sacred Race Conference. They're over there, Long Qingyang said as he pointed to a spectator's stand in the southwest direction. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang turned to look and saw Li Wushang, Long Zhan, Gong Yangyu, and the others looking in their direction. Yi Yao, Qiao Shaowan, and the others were also waving in their direction excitedly. Big brother Chu Hen, here. Chu Hen and the other two smiled. Shortly after, they walked towards the direction of the crowd that was scattered on the stage. The majestic high sky terrace was connected to the spectators' stand by a suspension bridge. As soon as the 3 of them crossed the bridge, Yi Yao, Qiao Shaowan, and the others ran down from the spectator stand. Congratulations to Big Brother Chu Hen, Big Sister Mingshang, and Big Brother Qingyang for passing the preliminary round. Yi Yao blinked her big eyes. Wow. Not bad, all 3 of you passed. That's a 100% success rate, Qiao Shaowan said with a smile. I was just lucky. The 2 of them won with their strength. Long Qingyang smiled gently. The few of them chatted as they walked into the crowd. Next is the second round. The rules of this round will be even crueler than the preliminary round. You have to be mentally prepared. Li Wushang stared at Chu Hen's handsome and calm face with deep meaning. Chu Hen nodded slightly. I'll do my best. You guys take a break. The preliminary round dragged on for so long, you guys must be tired. Long Zhan also changed from his usual strict manner to that of a loving father, taking care of the 3 of them. All right. Chu Hen smiled, then pulled Luo Mingshang and Long Qingyang to an empty seat next to him. Looks like the Sacred Clan Conference is really cruel. I wonder who beat that guy from the Samsara Saint Clan, Qiao Shaowan muttered to herself. Yeah. There are really many hidden talents in a competition of this level. I bet there are still many monsters who haven't shown their strength yet. The speaker didn't mean anything, but the listener did. Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes wandered as she looked at Chu Hen beside her. The latter looked back, his brows slightly raised, a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Luo Mingshang couldn't help but understand. She could clearly see that Chu Hen's state of mind was much more relaxed than before the preliminary round. The teams from the 10 strongest sacred clans are all here. Chu Hen's gaze swept across the firmament terrace. Apart from the few sacred clans he saw in the eastern region yesterday, there were also a few other strong teams. On a precipitous and majestic mountain range in the northwest, the aura of that team was especially unique and strange. With them as the center, the air around them was slightly dark, as if there was dust floating in the air. Needless to say, that was the team from the Great Wilderness Holy Clan. After that, Chu Hen also found the seats of the 2 strongest sacred clans, the Primitive Wilderness Holy Clan and the Dragon Blood Holy Clan. Feeling the powerful aura emitted by the two groups from afar, Chu Hen's eyebrows could not help but faintly reveal some seriousness. That sacred clan is, suddenly, Chu Hen's shifting gaze abruptly stopped on a luxurious viewing stand on the east side. The crowd in the spectator stands exuded a calm and profound aura. They were very calm. They were low-key, but they couldn't be ignored. The devouring sacred clan, Li Wuxiang said casually. Oh! Chu Hen was stunned. A very low-key sacred clan that conforms to the rules. They don't like to fight for power, nor do they like to move around in the outside world. They maintain a neutral relationship with everyone. Chu Hen nodded slightly. In this chaotic world, the various clans tried to rope in each other, but they also confronted each other. It was hard to see through people's hearts. The devouring sacred clan could be considered a clear stream. They didn't like to interfere with external affairs. However, no matter how low-key they usually were, they definitely wouldn't just sit in the audience during the sacred clan conference. Perhaps the devouring sacred clan was like their name, silent and surging in the dark. At this point, the 10 strongest sacred clans had all appeared. Devouring, Star, Burning Sky, 9 Hells, Demon Eye, Divine Eye, Vast Wilderness, Primitive Wilderness, Dragon Blood, and Samsara. The 10 strongest sacred clans' bloodlines contended for supremacy. Just how earth-shattering would the sacred race assembly be? Chapter 1608. The 10 unparalleled sacred bodies dominated. After the appearance of the Star God Clan, Burning Heaven Clan, Demon Eye Clan, God Eye Clan, and Samsara Clan in the eastern region, the 9 Underworlds Clan, Great Wilderness Clan, Chaos Clan, Dragon Blood Clan, and Devouring Clan in the western region, had all gathered at the high firmament terrace in the center of the spiritual Empress Peak. To the world, the 10 strongest sacred clans were like the 10 overlords that occupied the peak of their respective domains. They were the supreme existences that stood above all. At a glance, the spectator seats and stands that they occupied were like the territory of the overlords of the gods and demons. They had a majestic aura that no one could cross at will. Before the start of the competition, many sacred clans and sects took the opportunity to try to build a relationship with them. The flattery between people was on full display at this moment. However, compared to the other 9 sacred clans, the Demon Eye Sacred Clan was a little down and out. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan led by Li Kuan was in a state where no one cared about them. In comparison, the Thunder Saint Clan was surrounded by visitors who had come to pay a visit. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan is a little pitiful. During their glory days, the people who flattered them were like dogs. Now, no one even cares about them. That's normal. People only know how to suck up to those in power. They climb up when they're in high spirits and step on them when they're at rock bottom. The coldest thing in this world is the human heart. Although it's a pity, I still want to say that the Demon Eye Sacred Clan might not be able to survive this Sacred Clan conference. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. As the atmosphere around the arena continued to ferment, the mood of the people around Chu Hen gradually became a little gloomy. Especially Li Wuxiang. As a member of the upper echelon of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, he had witnessed the glory and desolation of their clan. At this moment, his mood was extremely complicated. The abysmal Sacred Clans team is over there. Luo Mengchang pointed to a towering viewing platform at the side. Following her direction, Chu Hen looked up. The abysmal Sacred Clan had more females than the other sacred clans. Regardless of gender, their temperament and appearance were rather outstanding. That's senior sister looting you. Why don't you go and say hello with me? Luo Mengchang asked tentatively. Looting you? Chu Hen raised his eyelids and hesitated for a moment before saying with a faint smile, all right. Then, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang left the audience seats and walked along the iron bridge between the mountains to the audience seats of Holy Abyss Tribe. It's Lady Mengshang. Give up your seat. When the people from Holy Abysmal Tribe saw Luo Mengchang, their eyes lit up. Don't worry about me, everyone. I'm going over there later. Luo Mengchang quickly smiled. Go there? Why? Everyone was confused. Luo Mengchang belonged to the camp of Holy Abyss tribe. By right, they should be sitting together. However, everyone saw Chu Hen, who had come together with Luo Mengchang. Especially since Luo Mengchang was holding his hand, the two of them looked particularly intimate. Many people revealed doubtful expressions when they saw this. Although Luo Mengchang hadn't stayed in Holy Abysmal Tribe for long, there were many people who loved her. Chu Hen suddenly felt unfriendly gazes from the audience seats of Holy Abysmal Tribe. However, Luo Mengchang did not pay any attention to him. She directly brought Chu Hen in front of a beautiful young woman. Senior Sister Tingyu. This is the Chu Hen that I told you about before. Then, Luo Mengchang smiled at Chu Hen and said, This is Senior Sister Tingyu. We're very close. Lu Tingyu. She was as delicate as her name suggested. She wore a dance dress with maple leaves and had light red makeup on. She was beautiful but not seductive. There was a tinge of coldness about her, and she gave off an enchanting charm. Nice to meet you for the first time, Chu Hen politely greeted. However, Lu Tingyu raised her eyebrows with light red makeup. She didn't seem to be very enthusiastic. You're the one from Demon Eye Holy Clan? Chu Hen glanced sideways at Luo Mengchang. It seemed that she had already told some things about him to Lu Jiu. It's me, Chu Hen replied, neither servile nor overbearing. Lu Tingyu nodded slightly without much emotion. She turned to look at the other audience seat. Demon Eye Holy Clan is having a hard time this year. She didn't hide anything. She hit the nail on the head. Sister Tingyu. Luo Mengchang quickly pulled Lu Tingyu's sleeve. I'm just speaking the truth. She ignored Luo Mengchang's advice and said to Chu Hen, Our Holy Abysmal Tribe situation isn't looking good. Demon Eye Holy Clan is having a much harder time than us. To be honest, I don't think Mengchang will be with you. Although it's her choice and I have no right to interfere, Luo Mengchang was upset. She instantly regretted bringing Chu Hen here. However, Chu Hen didn't think there was anything wrong with what Lu Tingyu said. The other party's words were quite pertinent, and they weren't harsh on the ears. The Sacred Clan Conference isn't over yet. It's hard to say what will happen next, Chu Hen replied. Lu Tingyu's soft eyes twitched as a trace of astonishment flashed through them. Sure, I look forward to your performance at the conference. After a simple greeting, Luo Mengchang left the Holy Abysmal Tribe's stand with Chu Hen apologetically. I'm sorry. I didn't know Sister Tingyu would say something like that. Chu Hen smiled and held her hand. It's okay. She didn't mean any harm. I won't mind. Then don't be angry. Of course I won't be angry. I'm not that petty. Chu Hen shook his head and led Luo Mengchang back to their original seat. As time passed, the number of people gathered at Spiritual Empress Peak gradually increased. Many higher-ups from various forces arrived one after another. Even a few Holy Clan leaders didn't plan to miss the Sacred Clan Conference this time. Isn't that the clan leader of 5 Elements Holy Clan? A commotion broke out in the crowd. In the 5 Elements Holy Clan's stand where Lininghe was, a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes with a handsome face stood out like an emperor. The powerful aura that he exuded was awe-inspiring. The clan leader of New Moon Holy Clan is here too. And the clan leader of Light Holy Clan, Dark Holy Clan too. The highest authorities of various holy clans arrived one after another. Even the highest authorities of Light Holy Clan and Darkness Holy Clan, who everyone thought would be absent, were here. It was really surprising. However, compared to the other clan leaders, the 2 clan leaders of Light Holy Clan and Darkness Holy Clan looked especially gloomy. After all, no one expected Murong Yao and Lin Un to be eliminated in the first round. If it wasn't for the possibility that this would be the last Sacred Clan Conference, the 2 of them would have left long ago. The appearance of many holy clans higher-ups caused the atmosphere in the Sacred Clan Conference to rise. Chu Hen also found the 4th Elder, Heavenly Wolf Star Guard Rao Filwan, and other higher-ups in the Demon Eye Sacred Clan's stand. After not seeing him for a few months, the fourth elder's figure had become even thinner and older. The series of events that happened recently seemed to have given the poor old man one blow after another. As the only backbone of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, the fourth elder's loneliness made people's hearts ache. Bang, bang, bang! All of a sudden, a deafening salute was fired, and colorful confetti rained down from the sky above Spiritual Abyssal Peak. It was at this moment that a loud cheer came from the south side of the competition venue. Countless giant birds and cranes circling in the sky roared in unison. A red carpet was laid directly on the wide bridge that hung in the sky. Under everyone's shocked gazes, a domineering figure that eclipsed everything in the world slowly walked over, followed by more than 10 people. This is? Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. A long red carpet was laid on the road, and a horn salute was sounded. Even the clan leaders of darkness, light, and 5 elements did not receive such treatment. Could it be? It can't be wrong, it must be. He's finally here, the Thunder Sacred Clan's clan leader. No, it's the Thunder Emperor. Chapter 1609. It's the Thunder Emperor. Boom! The deafening sound of firecrackers rang in the sky above the Spiritual Abyssal Peak. The colorful flower petals that rained down made the sky appear colorful and beautiful. Screech, white cranes flew past behind them and streaked across the sky like eagles. Under countless gazes that were filled with awe and fear, more than a dozen emperor-like figures stepped across the red-carpeted floating bridge and entered the competition venue of the high cloud balcony. The leader wore a golden robe and had an aquiline nose. He exuded the domineering aura of the king of beasts. With every step he took, there would be traces of lightning arcs under his feet. An invisible and huge aura was pressing down on him. At this moment, even the patriarchs of the Darkness Sacred Clan, Light Sacred Clan, and 5 Elements Sacred Clan were overshadowed. The Thunder Emperor. That was his title. He was also another great emperor of the human race after the 10 strongest sacred clans had achieved the title of emperor. To the human race, this was a great opportunity and an achievement that would be recorded in history. During this period of time, the topic of the Thunderbolt Great Emperor had already exploded in the continents of various domains. The Reincarnation Sacred Clan, Star Sacred Clan, Sky Burning Sacred Clan, and many other clans looked at the Thunder Emperor cautiously. At this moment, the Thunder Sacred Clan had become the center of attention. Outside the arena, Lei Kun raised his eyebrows and smiled proudly. Luo Shan, the deputy peak master of the Spiritual Abyssal Peak, even bowed to welcome the Thunder Emperor. I am Luo Shan. Welcome, Thunder Emperor. Please forgive us for not going out to welcome you. Reverent and respectful. Luo Shan gave the other sacred clan patriarchs a treatment they didn't have. Peak Master Luo Shan, you're too kind. The Thunder Emperor's voice was forceful as he cupped his fists in return. Thunder Emperor, please take a seat. Luo Shan bowed slightly and made a please gesture. The Thunder Emperor raised his hand. Peak Master Luo Shan, you're too kind. There's no need for that. I'll just sit with my clansmen. This. Luo Shan was a little hesitant. He thought about it and didn't insist. If that's the case, this way please, Thunder Emperor. With that, Luo Shan personally led the Thunder Emperor's group to the Sacred Thunder Tribe's spectator stands. As the host, the Vice Peak Master of the Spirit Empress Peak personally led the way. Everyone present couldn't help but sigh. The leaders of the other clans were more or less envious. As expected of the Lightning Emperor. Such treatment, TSK. To think that the Thunderclap Emperor would be here in the second round of the competition. Seems like their race views this sacred race meeting with extreme importance. Of course, it can be said that the Thunder Saint clan is determined to become one of the 10 strongest sacred clans. The name of the strongest sacred clan. He was determined to win. Everyone in the room knew this very well. Meanwhile, the people from the Demon Eye Saint clan were feeling extremely complicated as they listened to the noisy discussions. It was like the river flowing east and west for 30 years. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan and the Lightning Sacred Clan formed a stark contrast in everyone's eyes. Boom! Suddenly, at this time, the sky above the spiritual abyssal peak once again exploded with the sound of thunder and wind. Roar! Many loud and clear hoarse neighs accompanied the melodious sound of a horn. A rainbow bridge directly descended from the sky to the high firmament platform. A dozen spotlessly white unicorns pulled a carriage, stepping on rainbows and steadily landing in the center of the high firmament balcony. On the carriage was a dignified old man dressed in a gorgeous robe. It's the Peak Master of the Spirit Empress Peak. Peak Master, not the Vice Peak Master. The crowd couldn't help but burst into an uproar. Could it be that the Peak Master would personally host the second round of the Sacred Race meeting? According to the past practice, the Peak Master of the Spirit Empress Peak would usually host the third round, which was the finals. Wasn't it a little too early this time around? After all, the preliminary round had just ended. Under the puzzled gazes of everyone present, the old man in the carriage walked to the high firmament platform. Then, he waved his sleeves, and the many unicorns on the rainbow bridge hissed softly. Immediately, their 4 hooves stepped into the air, once again riding the wind and leaping into the sky. I'm Shangguan Wutsa, the Peak Master of the Spirit Empress Peak. It's our sect's greatest fortune to have you all here. The old man cupped his fists and swept his gaze across the surroundings. He then cupped his fists at the crowd. Peak Master Shangguan, you're too kind. We're the ones who have disturbed you. Since ancient times, the Sacred Race meeting has been organized by the Spirit Empress Peak. Peak Master Shangguan is the person we trust the most. Someone below the stage responded. I'm ashamed. Shangguan Wutsa raised his hand. His face revealed a harmonious smile. He then said, I believe that everyone must be very curious as to why this old man has come so quickly. I won't hide it from everyone. It's because I have just received a very important message. Very important news? Everyone present was startled. Shangguan Wutsa's eyes were gleaming, but he was in high spirits. As for what the news is, I'll reveal it to all of you. He did not intend to keep them in suspense. Then, he waved his sleeve and announced in a loud and clear voice, Let's welcome the Emperor's throne platform. What? Emperor's throne platform? Everyone's heartstrings trembled when they heard these 3 words. Rumble, as soon as he finished speaking, wind and thunder appeared in the 9 firmament platform. The strong wind was like a storm was about to arrive. On the north side of the Lingshao balcony, there was a magnificent building on the peak of the most magnificent mountain. Meanwhile, on the meditation platform in front of the building, 10 dazzling pillars of light suddenly burst out. The 10 pillars of light were of different colors. There was a sacred golden color, a demonic purple color, a violent red color, and a gorgeous silver color. The pillars of light that soared into the sky were like mountain pillars that pierced through the clouds, causing the void to sway endlessly and the earth to tremble. Then, under countless shocked gazes, a magnificent stone platform slowly rose from the inside of the 10 pillars of light. On the stone platform, there was a wide stone chair that showed the majesty of an emperor. Clang, clang, the sound of friction between the stone walls was especially heavy. It was as if every stone platform was the seat of a god. Everyone couldn't help but squint their eyes. The surging momentum spread in all directions. The stone platforms that rose to a height of about 10 meters were lined up in a row. From afar, the walls of the stone platforms were engraved with particularly exquisite and different patterns. For example, on the stone platform that was shrouded by the purple pillar of light, there was a pair of devilish purple eyes. On the stone platform that was surrounded by the golden pillar of light, there was a pair of sacred golden eyes. On the stone platform that was surrounded by the golden pillar of light, there was a pattern of tens of thousands of galaxies. There were also patterns of dreamy water patterns, runes of flame and auspicious clouds, and so on. The 10 stone platforms had 10 different patterns, like ancient totems carved on them. They exuded an extraordinary momentum that could shake the heaven and earth. Emperor's throne platform? Wow! Looking at the 10 stone chairs on the northern peak, everyone could not help but feel their hearts tremble a little. Emperor, the Emperor's throne platform has appeared. Could it be? It can't be wrong, it can't be wrong. Everyone looked at Shangguan Wuzi in disbelief. Shangguan Wuzi raised his hand and shouted in a loud voice. Welcome, 10 strongest holy tribes, great Emperor. Chapter 16:10. Welcome the 10 strongest sacred tribe, great emperors. The Emperor's throne rose from the high firmament platform. The wind blew and the clouds surged. Looking at the Emperor's throne platform, everyone's heart trembled as if they were looking at an insurmountable god from afar. Rumble. Buzz buzz. Accompanied by an extremely strong rhythm of space, the sky above the spiritual abyssal peak was suddenly covered by dark clouds. Then, the space above the Emperor's throne platform in the north of the high firmament platform suddenly showed a dreamy distortion. Real and fake at the same time. It was like the ripples on the surface of the water, swaying restlessly. Everyone's heartstrings were stretched to the extreme. Everyone's heart was in their throats. Were the sacred tribe great emperors with the strongest bloodline going to appear? Bang! Like the shattering of glass, the void suddenly filled the sky with pieces of paper fragments. Like an illusion of water being stirred up, the big and small pieces of light filled the sky, covering the sky above the Emperor's throne platform. Buzz, then, on one of the stone chairs on the Emperor's throne platform, mysterious figures appeared out of thin air one after another. An incomparably powerful aura covered the sky and the earth, invading everyone's mind, making them feel an inexplicable sense of fear in the depths of their souls. A supreme aura. The majesty of an emperor. Wow! In an instant, several figures that looked like ancient sovereigns appeared on the Emperor's throne platform. Woo! The melodious sound of a horn and drum reverberated between heaven and earth, and the beasts that circled inside and outside the spiritual abyssal peak howled in unison. The entire high firmament platform, the tens of thousands of people from various clans, without exception, all stood up, lowering their heads and muttering. Welcome, great emperors! The orderly sound was like the roar of a mountain flood, covering the sky and earth. Respect. Respect that came from the bottom of their hearts. This reverence and respect far surpassed that of the Thunder Emperor. If the Thunder Emperor was said to be a feudal lord that had just risen to power, then the great emperors on the Emperor's throne platform were definitely monarchs that no one could offend. Apart from the respect that came from the bottom of their hearts, the abysmal Saint tribe, the demon I Saint tribe, and the god I Saint tribe had indescribable expressions of loneliness and complexity. The Emperor's throne platform. However, there were only 7 great emperors on it. Those who were older and had more experience couldn't help but sigh inwardly. In the last sacred clan meeting, all 10 great emperors were present. I didn't expect that 3 of them would be absent today. It's really a pity. The demonic Eye Emperor and the White Emperor can only remain in our memories. Hopefully, the Abysmal Emperor will return one day. Yeah, I'm really not used to having 3 empty seats all at once. The glorious years when the 10 clans dominated seemed to never return. Looking at the 7 extraordinary figures on the Emperor's throne stage, Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang and the rest felt their hearts palpitate. Are these the strongest experts of the sacred clan? Chu Hen clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with agitation. These are all avatars, Li Wushang said in a low voice. Although this is the sacred race convention, with their status, they wouldn't personally attend. These are all avatars they created, avatars? The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. Looking from afar, every single great sovereign was like the sun and moon in the vast galaxy. Their radiance was boundless, comparable to the colossus of the universe. Even though they were clones, the aura emitted from their bodies was so strong that it made people feel insignificant. Long time no see, how have you been? The 7 great emperors looked at each other. The one who spoke was the Star Emperor, who was standing on the emperor's throne stage with a star pattern carved on it. His facial features were straight and he was handsome. He wore a jade crown on his head, and his temperament was gentle and domineering. We're fine, but the 3 of them are absent. Burning Sky Emperor, who was wearing a red robe and had eyes like red jade, replied. The few of them glanced at the 3 empty seats. They all had different expressions. Some were sighing with complex emotions. Some were mocking and playful. Some were indifferent. The seats were all taken before, but there are 3 less this time. I'm still not used to it. The Dragon Blood Emperor, who was wearing a black 5-clawed dragon robe, had a playful look on his face, and his tone carried a hint of frivolity. There's nothing much to say. In this sacred race convention, the Reincarnation Saint clan is only 1 title away from obtaining the Heavenly Emperor token. I'm afraid we have to congratulate the Reincarnation Emperor in advance. The Desolation Emperor, who was wearing a gray mink coat with a high collar, had a slightly flirtatious look on his face. Then, everyone looked at the Reincarnation Emperor, who was sitting on the Emperor's throne stage in the middle. Is that the Reincarnation Emperor? Qiao Shaowan murmured. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, Yi Yao, Chu Hen, and the others also looked at the transcendent existence who had won 9 sacred race conventions and led the 10 clans. The Reincarnation Emperor's appearance was not as handsome as the Star Emperor, nor was he as burly as the Dragon Blood Emperor, nor was he as bewitching as the Burning Heaven Emperor. No matter which aspect it was, the Reincarnation Emperor did not seem to be the most outstanding one. However, for some reason, he gave off an indescribably deep feeling. Domineering. It did not seem that obvious. Majestic. It did not seem that outstanding either. Even so, everyone's gaze fell on the Reincarnation Emperor, and they could not look away. His aura was like a mysterious whirlpool that made people want to submit to him. The Reincarnation Emperor raised the corner of his eyes at the Desolation Emperor's words and replied indifferently, "The convention hasn't ended yet. It's still too early to say that." The Desolation Emperor said with a chuckle, "You speak so casually. Don't tell me your Reincarnation Saint clan doesn't want to hold the Heavenly Emperor's order?" The other great emperors also looked at each other with interest. The Reincarnation Emperor smiled indifferently. There was a thought-provoking look in his eyes. He did not answer the Desolation Emperor. Instead, he calmly sat on the stone throne on the Emperor's throne platform. The other great emperors only smiled faintly before they took their seats as well. No one could interrupt the great emperor's conversation. They did not have the right to interrupt. Shangguan Wuzi, the Peak Master of Spirit Wu Peak, understood. Due to the uniqueness of the Sacred Race Convention this time, the great emperors who are respected by the world have entered the spectator seats in advance. I believe all the participants will give their all in the competition, Shangguan Wuzi said as he looked in the direction of the Thunder Saint clan. Before the competition begins, I believe everyone already knows that another great emperor has been born in the human territory. Everyone's gazes quickly swept towards the Thunder Saint clan side. Thunder Saint Emperor, there should be a seat for you here. Shangguan Wuzi turned sideways and pointed at the 10 emperors' throne platforms where the 7 great emperors were sitting. Chapter 16:11. Thunder Emperor, there should be a seat for you here. When Shangguan Wuzi said this, the entire Ling Shao rooftop competition was in an uproar. Everyone looked at each other in astonishment. Cause trouble? Everyone's first reaction was that the spiritual Woodpeak was up to something. Looking out, there were only 10 emperor thrones on the Zen platform on the northern peak. Now that Shangguan Wuzi had suddenly said such a sentence, it simply didn't allow people to not make wild guesses. Hearing this, the Lightning Emperor couldn't help but stand up and reply in a clear voice, "Peak Master Shangguan thinks too highly of me. How could I, the Lightning Emperor, dare to sit on the same level as these peerless great emperors? This is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. For tens of thousands of years, there have been very few who have achieved the title of Emperor. Thunder Emperor, you are the chosen one. This is a blessing for the Thunder Sacred Clan, and even more so for the human race. Then, Shangguan Wuzi cupped his fists and bowed to the 7 great emperors and the crowd of holy clans. The Lightning Monarch said that he doesn't have the right to sit on the Emperor's throne platform. What do you guys think? In an instant, the entire audience burst into cheers. We must go to the Emperor's throne platform. If the Thunder Great Emperor isn't qualified, then who is? That's right. I fully support the Thunder Emperor's ascension. It was almost a one-sided support. However, the people from the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan, the Abysmal Saint Clan, and the Demonic Eye Saint Clan couldn't help but look gloomy. Heh, this spirit Abyssal Peak is really willing to do anything just to suck up to the Thunder Saint Clan. Yan Hanyu of the Burning Sky Saint Clan sneered. Not far away, Qin Jingfeng from the Sacred Star Clan glanced sideways at Bai Qianyu and said softly, "Don't worry. The Thunderbolt Emperor doesn't even dare to take the White Emperor's position." Bai Qianyu did not answer. A pair of bright and beautiful eyes with a hint of gloominess just quietly watched the arena. Thunder Emperor! Thunder Emperor! The clamor below the stage grew louder and louder, and it was ear-splitting and ear-splitting. The great Emperor of Thunder smiled humbly and raised his hand, gesturing for everyone to stop. I am indebted to everyone's kindness. Since everyone has said so much, it would be impolite for me to refuse, without much hesitation. He didn't insist on refusing either. The Saxon forces that wanted to curry favor with the Thunder Saint Clan all cheered in unison, but many shook their heads inwardly. Emperor's throne platform. They represented the 10 strongest sacred clans. There were 3 empty seats. They were the seats of the 9 hells, the God's Eye, and the Demonic Eye Emperor. In the eyes of some people, Shangguan Wuzi's behavior was somewhat inappropriate. If he wanted to curry favor with the Thunder Sacred Clan, he could set up another Emperor's throne platform. However, his actions would definitely offend another sacred clan. As for who he had offended, everyone had an answer in their hearts. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, the Thunder Monarch walked with steady steps. He brought with him an extraordinary and powerful aura as he walked to the meditation plaza on the northern mountain peak. Greetings, great emperors. Even though he had become a great emperor, in terms of seniority and strength, he was far from the 7 great emperors in front of him. Before sitting down, the Lightning Emperor bowed to them in a very humble manner. The 7 great emperors didn't have much of a change in their emotions. Since you've already become a great emperor, you don't have to be humble. The Star Emperor said calmly. Thank you for your praise, Star Emperor. Even so, I'm still anxious. It's just a seat. Take a seat. Don't waste everyone's time. Yes. The Lightning Monarch's eyes flashed with a hint of passion. He cupped his fists at the 7 people in front of him again. Then, he leaped up and flew towards one of the empty Emperor's stone chairs. At this moment, everyone's eyes turned cold. Whoosh! An invisible Emperor's prestige spread out. The Lightning Monarch's aura was not inferior to the 7 great emperors. However, the seat he stepped onto was none other than the Emperor's throne platform carved with a pair of demonic purple eyes. At this moment, everyone knew the Thunder Saint Clan's intentions. The entire Thunder Saint Clan seemed to be shining brightly. Meanwhile, the Demonic Eye Saint Clan seemed to have fallen into an endless, cold abyss. Anger, hatred, all sorts of negative emotions immediately surged into their hearts. This is too much. Heavenly Wolf Star Guard Rao Failwan gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. His eyes were almost spewing fire. This was an insult. An incomparably huge insult. The dignity of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan was trampled under their feet, ruthlessly trampled. Li Kuan's face was also ashen. His cold gaze swept towards the Thunder Saint Clan's audience and met Lei Kuan's disdainful gaze. Provocation. An undisguised provocation. This moment was an unprecedented humiliation for the entire demonic I Saint clan. That damned dog! Rao Failwan wanted to stand up and argue with Shangguan Wutsa, but the fourth elder pressed him down. Don't move. You! Rao Failwan gritted his teeth. That's the demonic I Great Emperor's seat. How can someone like him sit on it? Even though Rao Failwan and Heavenly Lone Star Guard Li Wushang didn't get along well, he was loyal to the demonic I Great Emperor. As a member of the demonic I Saint clan, he couldn't tolerate this humiliation. The fourth elder let out a long sigh. His murky old eyes were dim like a ray of light. Leave your last shred of dignity for yourself. Last shred of dignity. Looking at the weak and frail old man in front of them, everyone in the demonic I Saint clan couldn't help but shudder. That's right. Everyone was very sad. Everyone was suffering from the humiliation of having their dignity trampled on. But what could they do? This was the Sacred Clan Conference. With the demonic I Saint clan's current strength, how could they stop what was happening before their eyes? Once things got out of hand, in the end they would be the ones who would be humiliated. Not many people cared about the demonic I Saint clan's feelings. They only felt that it was none of their business and were gloating. History is finally about to be completed. Yen Hanyu of the Burning Sky Saint clan sighed. Although it has nothing to do with me, I still feel a little regretful. It won't happen. Bai Qianyu of the Holy I Saint clan said. What? Yen Hanyu didn't hear him clearly. Qin Jingfeng of the Holy Star clan also looked at him in surprise. Bai Qianyu's eyes rippled. She pursed her red lips and murmured softly, I believe that the demonic I Saint clan won't fall just like that. Emperor Bai's daughter. The heir to the throne of the Holy I Saint clan. She was actually speaking up for her old enemy again. Chen Jingfeng and Yen Hanyu couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed like the entire Holy I Saint clan was happy to see this scene, only Bai Qianyu was so lonely. Why? The two of them were very confused. On the other side, Chu Hen looked at the Lightning Emperor, who had ascended to the throne of the demonic I Saint clan. He also saw the changes in the expressions of the fourth elder, Rao Failwan, and the others. Chu Hen's expression didn't change at all. He looked as calm as the water in an ancient well. However, Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang, Yi Yao, and the others around him clearly felt a chill that was enough to invade their souls. It wasn't just intense hatred that was suppressed in the bottom of their hearts. It was also infinitely cold and murderous intent. Wonderfulbookhouse.com